And let's clap in 3, 2, 1. And we're ready to go.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode, what are we on now? 8?
8.
8 of the Co-op Zone. I'm your host, Dane Alexander, along with Elek Batoczki. And Elek's got a shaving story for us.
I do have a shaving story. So, you guys on Twitch, if you guys are watching, you're going to see I am beardless at the moment. There is no beard on this face.
I haven't seen it, but I bet it's beautiful.
It's quite beautiful. It's nice and smooth. It's unbelievable. I haven't felt my face this smooth in a long time.
Oh, man, I wish I could touch it.
Oh, man, everybody wants to touch it right now. That's the new hot thing right now. IGN just reported on it.
10 out of 10.
10 out of
Touching
10.
Elek's face. Super smooth.
Super smooth. So it was like, what?
Too smooth. What was it again? 6.2 or 7.2?
What?
The too much water.
Too much water.
What was the review that they gave? It was a knock on the remake of the Pokemon games of like Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh yeah.
And one of their negatives was that there was too much water.
7 out of 10.
What was it though? I think it was like a 7.2 or maybe a 7.8.
And I played it. It was kind of mediocre.
I just remember everyone was making fun of it because of like too much water. Like, which honestly, I get it. Like, I understand what she was meaning, the reviewer, because like there's too many water like areas, and she said it's annoying having to keep like switching to a water Pokemon.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good water Pokemon, you almost always have to keep one on you just to get through the water areas. So like, I get what she was saying, but I do think it was kind of funny. Too much water.
Yeah, and those water parts are always the worst part about Pokemon. I hate those parts.
Yeah, so like I understood her critique, but It is funny. But yeah, beard.
So yeah, it's like a week ago I was trimming my beard, and I'm always super OCD when I have to trim or maintain anything. So I kept cutting and cutting, and then I was like, okay, this is getting far too much. I'm messing up too much. So I shaved it, but I had a mustache and I had a soul patch. And I liked it very much. I was getting good feedback from it. My dad
like
thought
Mario stash.
Yeah, no, my dad called it a gay 80s porn star, and I was like, that's exactly what I was going for.
That's like, what's his name? The gamer that looks like he's from the 80s. Mr. something.
Mr. Oh, this is gonna frustrate me now. Why don't I know his name?
I'm blanking out, but
yeah.
Continue. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So then last night I was feeling some longer hairs getting to my lip, and I'm like, oh, let's go ahead and cut a few things. Start cutting, and then I just noticed one side was cut more than the other. I'm like, all right, let's cut the other side. And then that was going on for straight up an hour. And then after an hour of just trying to figure out what I'm doing with my mustache, I'm like, all right, stop cutting. Let's see what the damage is. Straight up had a Hitler mustache. I'm like, okay, we're shaving all this off. And that's why I have no facial hair.
You didn't realize what you were doing?
I was slowly realizing.
To shave?
About half an hour, and I'm like, I bet you this is going to turn out to look really bad. And it made me wonder, I'm like, what if like that's why he had that mustache? Is he had that same problem of just like perfection and not wanting one side more than the other, and he just got to the point where it was just a little square hair right on the lip.
I mean, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need to prove people that you're an adult.
Yeah, it's just a little square on the mustache area. But that was my beard story. Why I don't have one right now.
Well, it all makes sense. I probably would have shaved it too.
Yeah. It wasn't a good look.
I mean, I think most people would agree. In fact, it's probably one of the worst looks in history. It's very sad that one of the funniest people in history, Charlie Chaplin, is slightly associated with that look. Which, who knows, maybe he could predict the future, and that was his like final joke on the world. Hey guys, I can die knowing that I look slightly like the worst person in history. I'm not finding this character. but I know like who I'm talking about, and I think you do too, and I'm sure most people do.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, Mr. I'm gonna look him up. What's his name, Mr.
I'm trying.
Maybe it wasn't Mr.
I could have sworn it was Mr. something. Like, I know it's not Mr. Beast.
No, it's not Mr. Beast. Top 100 streamers. Let's go through all of it.
Everything's just coming up as Mr. Beast for Mr. when I'm typing it in.
Dr. Disrespect.
Yes.
There we go.
See, I knew there was something there.
Yeah,
there was something there. Dr. Disrespect. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
no,
that's what I was thinking.
His is a handlebar mustache. Mine wasn't so much like that. It was more like a European, kind of just straight cut, clean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah, but with a soul patch, because I think just having a mustache would have looked weird on me.
Is that real? It's got to be real, right? His stash, Dr. Disrespect.
His stash? Is his stash real? Probably.
Yeah.
It's an adult. He's a grown man.
He is an adult.
I think he's a grown man. I mean, I probably wouldn't watch him if it was fake.
Wouldn't that be disappointing?
That'd be disrespectful.
Dude, that'd be awful. Like, you find out that it's just all been a lie, and one day he's just sitting there like live on a stream, and he's like, "Guys, I have something to admit," and you just see him slowly start peeling off his mustache.
And then next is gonna tell us he's not a real doctor.
Oh, jeez, man, that'd be worse than the stash, to be honest. Actually, I don't know. The stash is part of his look.
Dr. Phil isn't a doctor, and he could get away with
the
it.
Stash now.
Yeah. Like, what if Dr. Phil just took out his mustache and said it was fake?
But what if Dr. Phil turned out he wasn't a doctor?
What if both of those statements are true? And that's how the Dr. Phil show was created.
I feel like Dr. Phil is like one of those few shows where it's actually more fun to watch like the reactions to it and stuff as it is to like watch the actual show.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. The only time I watch it now is either when Julie's watching it or when PewDiePie reacts to an episode.
There's these other two guys that do it a lot too. I think it's one of the guys' names is Dane. Oh, is it you? It's like this larger guy, and this other guy, and he has like a Zelda tattoo, a bunch of Zelda tattoos on his arm. Okay, it's pretty sick. Like it's Link, like, you know, slashing his sword. I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, I had no idea that one of the guys' names was Dane, and I didn't either. But my girlfriend watches them, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
One of us.
But yeah, so.
Would you want to do a Dr. Phil reaction video?
Yeah, I'd be down.
Okay, good. We'll have a podcast on an episode.
Yeah. Guys, the only tough thing with doing some of this stuff is that because we don't live in the same city anymore, like it's hard to do certain things live because there's like a slight delay. Yeah. But I guess we could both probably like watch a certain episode. The only thing is like people always do clips of it. So they're not actually sitting there watching through the whole episode. They're watching like certain clips and then stringing the clips together and then reacting to the clips put together. Right. Like to make it more concise, you know? Uh-huh. Or I guess you could watch the whole thing and then later on just pick the clips that are good, but we'll see. The future is bright.
We could get a high budget for this.
Some would say the highest.
Yeah. It'd be somewhere on par with like the Mandalorian budget.
Well, the whole season.
Yeah, of course.
Which was like what? Like I think $5 million per episode or something like that?
Roughly. Yeah, we don't go cheap on this show.
No. So let's start with, now that we got your Hitler stash out of the way, let's pick up where we started last week with God of War. So Elek has since finished God of War.
Oh my God.
A round of applause.
It is.
And let's pick up where we left off. So, full spoilers. If you haven't played the game,
Yeah,
I'm
definitely
sorry,
spoilers.
but your life would be much improved if you did. So get on that. But full spoilers from here on out. Anything that we're going to talk about today, let's just say spoiler alert. For most things, we'll tell you the topic beforehand.
Yeah.
But just getting right into God of War for now. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
so
this
Elek,
is going to be a
it's
lot of
done.
spoilers. It's done.
You have finished it. So final words on it.
Breathtaking.
I'm sorry. Did you say Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild.
I couldn't. I think there was an audio glitch. What did you say?
I said breathtaking.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. Continue.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10.
100%.
100% amazing. And I was a little bit shocked that a lot of people missed that secret ending, because there was so many times where like both the son and like the dwarves, like when you finish the game, they were both always like, yeah, you guys, you want to do some extra stuff, or you want to just go home and go to bed? I'm like, why are they trying to tell me to go to bed? And like,
wait, did they actually say that after the game?
Yeah, like the dwarves did, and your son did. He was like, we could adventure more, or I guess we could go home and go to sleep. And I feel like if nobody told me about that secret ending, I would have figured out that there was something if you go to the house and go to bed. But it could be just me like knowing that there is a secret ending, that I'm like just kind of laughing about it.
Yeah, because I did tell you ahead of time that like make sure that you check that out. I do think that most people, honestly, because the game sort of just ends. It doesn't really like have an ending cutscene and then the credits roll or anything. Like it literally, like you're still playing the game, and then the credits like just start rolling, but you can still play the game while they're rolling. So
Which is so cool.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so the game is sort of over. And I think a lot of people, like, once the credits started rolling there, I think a lot of people probably just stopped playing and they were like, all right, I'm done. Like, I finished the game. So it just kind of sucks that I'm sure there are a ton of people out there that didn't continue to press forward and literally just go back home and see, like, an actual ending. Because the game kind of gives you an ending, but like you kind of also still feel like you want a little bit more for an ending, and then that's what going home does. It gives you like that final ending where you're just like, okay, now I know for sure that there's going to be a second one and it's going to be awesome, and they totally give you that cliffhanger.
So good. That was probably the longest credits I ever had to sit through at the end. Not the first one, but after the secret ending.
Like, yeah, and then like they actually roll.
Yeah.
After you get the secret ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's very deceiving, because if the credits didn't roll there, like back in the regular game, then maybe you're like, oh, like no credits, like maybe something's up. Mm-hmm. But because they start rolling, most people probably think like, oh, okay, I'm done. I beat the game, whatever.
Right.
And unless you're going to go back to like now finish like some side quests or just collect more armor and stuff, like maybe you'd miss that. But man, like let's talk about that. So it was so cool.
Yeah, dude, I'm so pumped to see the next one where they team up with good old Thor to fight Thanos. Like, it's going to be a dope game.
Well, did they mention Thanos? That'd be sick.
It'd be so sick.
Like Thor, like just coming down at the end, like man.
Yeah.
And like you're just so ready, and like all the lightning comes out. See, like I just randomly, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed, and then all of a sudden, like a cutscene clips in, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is going on? And then like you just see that it's dark outside, and you just hear all this thunder and stuff, and then you guys go outside, and there's just like lightning everywhere, and then Thor just comes down. You're just like, what? Plus, like finding out that your son is Loki.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Like, it's pretty cool. So it's just throwing in like all of these.
Have you been reading into like
all these characters that you know are gonna like become something great?
Yeah. Like theories about what's gonna happen or what everything kind of means, because there was that painting where it showed what it looked like was his son killing him.
Yeah, like right basically where the game ends, like right the path like right before there. You
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of see
yeah.
like that painting on the wall.
I think that's foreshadowing that it's going to be Loki killing Odin.
See,
That's kind of
I
where my head
think
went to.
I think where they go from here is I think your son is going to become evil. And
I
I
don't think
think
so,
I
dude. I
feel like that's
think
kind of cliche, but at the same time, I feel like it kind of makes sense. They've already been hinting at it, like when your son first finds out that he's a god, like he just becomes a douche and like thinks that he can do whatever he wants, and he's like, no one can tell me what to do. I'm a god, and then he starts being really mean to the dwarves, and he's just kind of an awful guy until he starts to realize like, okay, like I might be powerful, but I have to actually like practice and learn constraint and be be good at what I can do. And I feel like he might start to get corrupted later on. And we don't know who like any of the bad guys are going to be in the next one or anything like that. So
well, we
we'll
know it's
see.
going to be
Like
Ragnarok. We know that's going to be like the setting.
I'm
Um,
sure, but like we don't know who like the main like uh bad guy will be, and I'm sure that person will have somewhat of a heavy influence.
dude, yeah, I've been reading on like Norse mythology and like what could potentially happen, and like so many people think that Kratos is actually the god Tyr that they were talking about in the game. He was like a time traveling uh god that was like there was a scene where you saw like Mesopotamian art showing that the god Tyr was like a god of that and like a god in China. And so I think that's where the game is going to go, is that the so you know that serpent
Yeah, the
that
world
that eats
serpent.
you. So his pissed at Thor because Thor punched him in the future and sent him back to the past or something like that. Is what I was reading online.
Hmm.
And so people think that that's what's going to happen with Kratos. This is going to be launched back into the past, and he's just going to be gods of like different places, and that's where they're going to do like an Assassin's Creed thing where they're going to do like a new region every God of War game. I don't think it's going to be like an every year game though.
I'm
But
fine with a new region. The only thing is they already have you exploring like different worlds.
well, that was like
So that wouldn't be that new because they could literally just say like, okay, here's a new world to explore as opposed to needing to send you back to the past to do that.
well, I don't think it's good. Well, like the second game I would think is still going to be like Norse mythology, but then there's going to be something that happens where he's going to be sent back, and then you're going to play Kratos in like China, and it's just going to be a completely new story.
I don't know about that. I think they built up this really awesome like storyline with you and your kid and stuff, and I don't think they're suddenly going to go away from that just to be like, all right, Kratos in China. Like it within Assassin's Creed, it totally makes sense because the whole point is to basically go back to like these great civilizations and kind of get a feel for what they were like, back in the day.
hmm
Like that's kind of the whole point, is that Assassin's Creed is very much a part of world history. Um, and I'm not saying that that stuff isn't a part of Norse mythology, but
Right,
I just feel like the way that game is going, that it's just going to be a direct sequel, and they're just going to push on ahead. I
for
wasn't
sure.
getting any hints of time travel, um, but if there is, I think it would be a part of this continuing story. I don't think they're just going to drop this story and then totally change it.
Well, I think they were talking about it a little bit in the game.
When
Uh, when they were talking about the god Tyr, they were talking a lot about that god being like this god of like wisdom and just a super nice god, and people are just speculating that that's foreshadowing of who Kratos is or is going to become. Because there's a scene where like when your kid was like dying and you're like running through like um that machine that like changes levels and stuff, like it was already like being lowered as you were like running, so people are thinking that that was Kratos in the future that was doing it. I don't know if that's true or not.
Huh.
Yeah, I was reading a bunch of different theories, and I'm just so excited to see what they're gonna do with it, because they could do a lot of things with it.
They could do a lot of things with it, but I guess that's what's kind of exciting, is that who really knows? And
yeah, who really knows exactly?
I'm curious as to when we get our first teaser for this. Because they're clearly already making it 100%.
Yeah, there's no way they're like doing something else right now. I would like to see something at E3.
Well, Sony's not at E3.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But they are going to have some sort of PlayStation 5 reveal event. Whether it's just like a Nintendo Direct type thing, or it's just a regular video, or whether like it's an actual planned event and they invite press and media to it and stuff and then stream it live. Who really knows? But
I would like to see it then.
Because it's only been, when did it come out? End of 2018, right? Or middle of 2018?
I want to say it was like somewhere around there. I think closer in like the October, November.
Yeah, I can look that up right now. God of War release date, April 20th.
April
2018. Yeah. So
it's been almost 2 years now.
Yeah, so it's been almost 2 years, not quite. And these games typically take like at least 4 to 5 years to make.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they already have, a lot of the basic fundamentals of the gameplay and like the game engine and stuff, because it's not a straight up brand new game. It's like, just a sequel. So that could help with that. But it also is clearly going to be on PlayStation 5, so maybe they do have to make some adjustments to make it run like really well.
It could be very much a totally different game. Like I could see this being kind of like a GTA 5 where you're switching between characters. Except you're going to be switching just between Kratos and the kid. And so they would have to make a whole new gameplay mechanic of you actually playing the kid.
I don't know if I would want to play as the kid. Like, they did such a good job with Kratos that, like, I want to play as Kratos.
Yeah. Or even Thor. Imagine playing Thor.
Dude. Well, that's the thing,
they were trying to show him as kind of an evil character, but I think it'd be...
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they were trying to make him seem evil or not.
I don't think so.
There were a lot of instances in the game where, like, if you do some of the side quests and stuff, that, like, one of them is breaking down a tower of Thor and, like, destroying it.
Uh-huh.
And, like, to get, like, the treasure chest or whatever that's in it. Like, someone says, oh, like, Thor killed my family or whatever. So I do feel like they were kind of making Thor out to be a bad guy.
Right, and so was Kratos.
They also had claimed that he was dead. So the fact that he showed up at the end is kind of like that was a shock, not only because, oh my god, it's Thor, but also because they were claiming, I believe they were claiming throughout the game that Thor had died.
Yeah.
And
I
then
didn't realize those two guys, for whatever reason, kind of just, didn't really pay attention or something, that those two guys that you were fighting, those two gods, were Thor's sons.
Yeah, the guy from the original in the beginning, right?
Not in the beginning. It was like the two brothers.
It's been a while.
Yeah, there was like the guy in the beginning, and that's like the son of Odin and that witch goddess. But then there was like these two brothers that you had to fight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was the son of the lady. That's right. And then she sacrificed herself for him. Or no, well, he killed her. But yeah.
Well, he was going to, and then she didn't end up dying because Kratos killed him, and then she got pissed and said she's going to do revenge. Yeah. But yeah, there were these two. That was
such a good scene.
Everything was such a good scene. The whole game was a good scene.
Dude, that section was so sick. Like climbing that big thing, and then it's falling down, and you're trying to like get the hammer that it's holding to smash the ice so you can get down into there. That was a great part.
Mucho great game.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to show off God of War 2 this year. It would be, I think if they did, it would be a very basic thing, kind of like with Metroid Prime 4, where Nintendo just like shows a 40-second clip, but none of it's like any type of thing to resemble the game. It's basically just a generic thing made in Photoshop, and then it says Metroid Prime 4 like in development. I think that'll be the same thing with God of War. They'll show a quick clip or something, maybe something very basic, like here's Kratos.
It's gonna be a cutscene
with Loki or something, and then literally like they're just standing on a mountain, and then it says God of War 2.
Yeah,
something really generic like that.
It's gonna be like the Elder Scrolls 6 when they showed that.
Yeah.
So I could see that, but that's what I want. I want something just so I know that it's coming.
Yeah. And I think the only reason why they would do that is because they are trying to push their PlayStation 5 this year. So that's like a future title where you're like, okay, what can I play now? And then what am I going to get in the future? And they're saying, okay, these are the games that you're going to be able to play this year on it. And then they'll be like, and here's a game or two that you'll be able to play in the future. And I think they could do that with God of War 2. So but I'm not expecting that game to be out anytime soon. Okay. I'm going at least another 2 years, at least. I think end of 2021 at the earliest, and I think it'll be out at the end of 2022. Or maybe they could do the same thing, because this one came out in April. So maybe like beginning of or middle of 2022. But that's not a game that's coming out anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see it coming out with the PS5 just because.
I can't. I cannot see that being. That's too quick of a turnaround. 2.5 years.
But like you said, a lot of it's already kind of. They have all the things ready for it.
It depends where they're going with it, but yeah, I do agree that they do have a lot of the assets and stuff.
So I don't think it's going to take that long to make it.
At the same time, though, you want to make a game that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like if you look at The Last of Us 2, they already had everything down for The Last of Us. They had the whole, game engine and all the mechanics and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that you're mostly playing as Ellie now, and she's an adult, so she may feel a little different, but you still have most of the game mechanics down.
Right.
But that's been taking at least, I think, 5 or 6 years they've been.
Jeez.
They've been doing that game. They said it's the largest game they've ever built.
They're still making it, right? It didn't come out yet.
No, they're still making it. It comes out. It was supposed to come out earlier, but then they delayed it till a month later or so. I think it comes out in May or June.
Okay, so it's not going to come out on the PS5.
I mean, I'm sure it will.
Right, but it's not going to be like.
It's not going to be it
title.
Could be a launch title. Like they could easily do it. Here's the best way to play The Last of Us 2 the day that the PlayStation 5 comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be coming out first on the PlayStation 4.
Right. Okay.
Which that's one of the things, right? And we were talking about that before. Like, I don't see why they would release The Last of Us 2 earlier in the year when that could easily be one of the greatest PlayStation, or like in general, one of the greatest launch titles of all time.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And that would immediately sell PlayStation 5s. But when you put it out earlier, everyone's going to play it on their PS4. And then when the PS5 comes out, and maybe it does launch with like a better looking, better playing version of it, but you're going to be like, I already played it, so I'm not going to buy it again.
Yeah.
So either you play it way earlier, or since you know that it's probably going to come out on the PS5, you wait months until the PS5 comes out, and then that's your like launch day game with that. But then you have to hope that you can, not get the game spoiled for you and stuff by that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it is strange to me. Like if I were Sony, like, hey, just hold it. And you can still release it on the PlayStation 4 that day because you told people it's coming out on the PS4. And obviously it'll sell way more because PS4 already has a bunch of consoles out there. But I would hold that. So I'm surprised that they're releasing that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why they didn't just push it out to when the PS5 comes out. Yeah. But they could be just doing the same thing the Xbox is going to do and not really care about exclusive games on a particular system and just care about, buy the high-end system if you could afford it, or it played on the lower-end systems as well. So Xbox and PlayStation have always been kind of the same.
I agree, but that still helps more so if you release it on the consoles at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
because everyone wants to play The Last of Us 2, right?
Yeah.
Especially people that are looking towards the PlayStation 5, because they're like the most dedicated core of gamers that are like, okay, I'm a super hardcore gamer. I want to get the best experience. People would pay day of for a PS5 to play Last of Us 2, even if they have a PS4 to play it on, because they want to play it the best way possible.
Right.
But once they've already played it, now they might not get it later on, because what if the PS5 doesn't really have anything to launch on other than, the same Last of Us 2 game that you already played? It just runs better. You'd be like, maybe I can wait a few months for like their next big game to actually come out.
Right.
Because like you said, Microsoft is doing the same thing with Halo, but it's the day of. So the day that it comes out on Xbox One, that's also coming out on the Xbox Series X that same day.
Mm-hmm.
So because I can play it right now on my current console, or I can play it on the best experience possible, I'm now going to purchase that game for the Xbox Series X, because I'm going to get them on the exact same day. If Halo came out before, I'd be sitting here going, oh man, like I want to play Halo right now, and people are playing it and they're going to spoil it online, but I'm not getting the best experience out of it. But I don't want to have to buy the game twice and then, deal with all that stuff. And
yeah,
what could be cool is if both Microsoft and Sony make it so that if you purchase a game that's going to be on the PlayStation 5, like The Last of Us 2, then once you get a PS5 and you put the disc in, it like reads the serial code of that disc, and like each disc counts as like one download, and it automatically like lets you play the PlayStation 5 version of the game. Like that'd be cool.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say you have the PS4 version of Last of Us 2.
Oh, okay, that's what. Okay.
And then you get a PS5.
Yeah.
You put Last of Us 2 into the console, and it lets you download the PS5 version, and it just uses the disc to verify that you own the game, and then it lets you access the PlayStation 5 version.
Or even if they just say, $10 to upgrade or something, so paying for a whole $60 game.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I. Actually, no. I remember how Final Fantasy 14 did it. I had it on the PS3, and then when I got a PS4, I was able to redeem the PS4 version, and I don't remember if it was for free or if you had to pay some small fee for it.
We'll see, because with the discs, they can still do the regular verification thing of just how every disc game works, where you still have to put the disc in just so it knows that you own the game.
Right.
Whereas if you could just purchase a game from GameStop used, put it in, download Last of Us 2, and then return the disc and get Last of Us 2 for free on the PS5. So I feel like they'd still have to do some sort of verification thing to know that you do actually own the game, and you can't just keep playing it for free.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know how that would work. You have to like put the disc in like once a week or something.
Well, it's the same thing now. Like every time I buy a disc game, it downloads the game, right?
Uh-huh.
And then even though the whole game is stored on my console, I can't play it unless I put the disc in. So you put the disc in, and it literally just verifies that the disc is real and that you own it.
Uh-huh.
And then it accesses it, and you're playing the game off the hard drive, and the disc drive doesn't spin at all.
Oh.
It literally just verifies that you have the game, and it does that both on PS4 and Xbox.
Oh. I did not know that.
Yeah. Because otherwise it would download the game off the disc, and then you could just play it forever and then immediately go trade the game in. Or you could literally buy games, like I said, install it, and then go trade the game back and return it and get all these games for free. So they have to have a way to verify that you do own the game and you're constantly using it. So that's what they do with discs. It literally spins the disc like once or twice, just so it can read like the barcode on it or the serial code that's built into it. And it goes, okay, yeah, this is an official copy. They own the game. And then it continues to play the game off the hard drive.
I see. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's not cool is how long disk installs take and updates. I was talking to Ethan right before we started this podcast, and he said that the last 2 times he's gone to play Call of Duty, his console is set in the mode to like download updates in the background. But sometimes, like if an update comes out that day, like your console doesn't check until later that night. So when you go to start it, you still have to download the update. And he said like it'll be like a 10 gigabyte update, and then it just literally takes all day, and then you don't even get a chance to play.
Damn. That's
So,
annoying.
and that's with most people, because most people don't have like super high internet speeds, and even if you do, it still takes a long time to download these large gigabyte files.
Hmm.
So, like, we can get into this a little bit later, but every time I go to play a game, like a new game that I haven't played yet, I just started Control, and a few days ago, I'm like, okay, I'm going to install Control. So I unwrapped the game, I put the disc in, I started up. It's like, do you want to install the game? Yes. Okay. And then there are updates for the game. Do you want to download the updates for the game? Yes. So the updates were 10 gigabytes, and then the game itself was like 35 gigabytes. So I have to sit there now. I sat there for hours just waiting for the disc to install.
Uh-huh.
And most games, most large games are like 50 to 55 gigabytes. It takes forever for these games to download. And I do know that a lot of games have earlier start points. So like you can start playing the game, when it's halfway installed and stuff like that. But then it's still just annoying, and you might have like some glitches or a little bit of lag because the console isn't putting 100% of its resources to playing the game, because it's also focusing on installing.
Right.
So I typically tend to wait, but it can just take so long for games to install, and then it still has to download an update. So basically, I put games in to install them before I'm even going to play the game. I'm like, hey, I'm going to play that sometime this week, and it's a new game, so I'm going to install it now because I know that it's going to take up a whole like playing session.
Yeah. I usually try and install games when I go to bed and then just have the console running overnight.
Which is annoying though,
Hmm.
because like now it's loud installing it, and then you're wasting electricity by leaving it on all night.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
Like,
it's
I
just
think the
obnoxious.
longest game I had to download was Red Dead 2. That game, including like patch, was, I don't know, like 80 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's
Took about
nuts. Like
16 hours to download.
Ethan just looked up Call of Duty for me, and he said it was 130 gigabytes that's taking up on his PlayStation 4.
Jeez.
I'm like, geez.
That's like the
And
only
that's a
game you could
regular
have.
PS4. So if you have a PS4 Pro, now it's going to download even more because it's got to get all like the higher res textures and stuff.
Hmm.
So that's obnoxious, and honestly, I don't know how to get away from that. I don't think they can.
I don't think so either.
Games are just so large these days.
I mean, hopefully we just get to the point where we have faster internet speeds. Is the only thing we could hope for.
But even that, a lot of people like still get their games on discs. Like me, most of my games that I'll purchase are still discs.
Hmm.
And when I do that, I have to install it off of the disc, which can be sometimes faster and sometimes much slower than downloading it, depending on your download speeds.
Yeah.
So you literally can't do anything about it. You're just sitting there waiting for the game to install. And like the only way around that, right, is
Just
just
streaming it
letting
the whole
people.
time,
Well,
which is what Google Stadia tried to do. Just
there's streaming, but I still feel like that's a less comparative option because it's not like it's really loading the full game.
right.
Um, but like you could still play games straight off of the discs, but they don't let you anymore because the games are just so long and big that like the loading times would be atrocious.
Hmm.
Plus, it's trying to load such like high textures and resolutions on the larger consoles that I don't know, maybe it could lead to like some overheating and stuff because it's also running the disk drive in the background now too, and it's also a lot louder when it's running the disk drive, so the consoles are much quieter just running off the hard drive. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just annoying. See, that's what makes cartridges great. Like the Switch, they went back to a cartridge-based system, and cartridges just load immediately.
Yeah.
You hit it, and then boom, it's up. And there's no downloading and stuff. The only flaw is some of the games are larger than the cartridges are, so you know you have to
download
download a
some
portion
of
of
it.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. That part's really annoying. Once it's all done, like it's mostly fine. But like, yeah, if you go to play Call of Duty, right, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna sit here for the next like 30 minutes and just play a few rounds of Call of Duty, and then it's like, oh, 5 gigabyte update, and then you're like, okay, well there goes all of my time to play the game, and now I can't play it.
Yeah.
So I get that. I
It's the
get
same
that.
with MMOs, just having to patch every other week, and you get home from work and you just gotta patch it up, and then It's done, and then you get to go to bed.
Yeah. And you never got to play.
Never got to play.
But it is what it is, and I don't see that fixing itself. Loading times will get better and stuff with the solid state drives, but would downloading stuff be better too? Are they faster, like when you're loading info onto them?
What do you mean, like when
Like-
you're actually playing the game?
Like if you're burning a disk, right? Like when you put a new disk in, and I said like the game has to download it to the hard drive, and then it plays it off the hard drive. Is it faster to burn a disk onto a solid state drive
I'm sure the game will
because of
run
the faster
faster.
speeds?
Yeah.
So
I
maybe
would
that
think
could
so.
help a little bit, actually. But I don't know. So take what I said with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just talk about that now, actually. So as I mentioned, I started Control, and I'll tell you right now, I really like it so far, Alec.
Like mucho good game.
Mucho good game. So IGN gave it their game of the year, and a lot of places at least nominated it for game of the year.
Uh-huh.
And so far, I totally see why. It's very easy to say that it's even kind of like Star Wars, but instead of a lightsaber, you have a gun.
Okay. So it's like the same gameplay.
Not the same gameplay, but you get some of the same like powers in terms of like. So one of the first powers that I've gotten so far is pulling.
Uh-huh.
So I can, pull an object, hold it, and then launch it back at an enemy. Just like you would like with the Force, like you can pick up something and then throw it at someone.
Uh-huh.
So far that's the only like type of superpower thing that I've gotten. But it feels great. I would even maybe say that it feels better than how Jedi Fallen Order made the Force feel.
Oh, really?
So and this game is really smooth. So I haven't noticed any hiccups yet at all, like with frame rate or any bugs or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like how you were saying, of going from really buggy games to God of War, you were just like, finally, a game that just works.
Yeah.
I'm very early into this game. I started it yesterday.
Uh-huh.
So I've maybe put, 2 to 3 hours into it. For those of you that have played it, I've gotten to the area of the red phone in the beginning, but that's about it. So it is pretty early in my playthrough, but it feels really good so far. And I haven't noticed any issues. And just going from Star Wars to this, which Star Wars was very buggy, especially graphics wise, and seeing like light cut in and out, and your character is standing in mud, but he's like falling through it and stuff like that. This game has been great. And again, there's a lot of game left to play, but so far it's pretty good. And gameplay wise, it doesn't seem too difficult so far, but I'm totally fine with that because this is very clearly a story driven game. And
Right.
I'll be honest, I basically have no idea what's going on so far.
Good.
But it's very much of like a mystery, so I know that I'm going to get answers.
Is this made by a AAA studio?
It's made by Remedy.
I don't know who they are.
The Alan Wake.
Is
And
that AAA?
I would say that they're AAA quality, but they don't sell like AAA games.
Okay.
So there's Alan Wake. They did Quantum Break was the last one. And this was the first time in a while that they released a game on PlayStation and Xbox. So they were typically an Xbox exclusive brand. They were never owned by Microsoft, but they just had like
A partnership.
So basically
Yeah.
like a second party where they only would put games on Microsoft consoles, but they were independent and weren't controlled or owned by Microsoft.
Right.
And honestly, I don't know why Microsoft never purchased them. They should have at some point.
It could be just a company not wanting to be bought by them. They probably maybe
Possibly.
tried.
Maybe they still wanted, their independence and what they were going to make, and they were saying, okay, we'll take extra money to release our games only on your console, but we still want to have like full control over our like creativity and what we make.
Mhm.
So maybe that was their decision. But this was the first time in a while that they released a game on both PlayStation, and Xbox. So they got rid of their exclusivity agreement. Maybe it came to an end or whatever. But probably for them too, even though Microsoft paid them a good extra amount of money to do that, their sales weren't always great, which sucks because they tried to fix that by releasing this game also on PlayStation, and this game did not sell very well
On the PlayStation?
on
Or
like
just
combined.
general?
In general. This wasn't a very high selling game at all.
Well, because
Like, I
nobody
think
heard of it.
the month it came out, I don't even think it made the top 10. Like, when it's supposed to be the most popular game, no one really purchased it, which is really a shame because I thought the game looked pretty good from the beginning. But again, that's because I like their games.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of sucks that it's a very, very talented and high quality studio. And this game totally feels like it. So from the writing, like the characters, the gameplay, this feels top notch. And it kind of just starts you off and you're just like, okay, kind of what's going on. And there's not a lot of people and you're kind of just like looking for something and you're not really sure what's happening. And then like there's a moment in the very beginning of the game where like all of a sudden you're back to the beginning of where you ended up, but the route that you got there like changed. So like you went in a circle without you knowing you went in a circle. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to love this game. And then like I kind of like go back through the circle, but then like it was gone. So I was like, okay, so I get this. Like the map is like periodically like might change like as you walk through it, and it'll like open up new areas and stuff. So I'm very excited. Basically, you're in this place called the Federal Bureau of Control. So it's a government building, and you're just trying to figure out what the building does, what this bureau does, and what's going on. And you're there for a specific purpose, but the main character is kind of iffy about telling people about her mission, which therefore means that you also don't know too much about the mission. So it's pretty cool so far. And I'm super pumped to get further into it because I totally think I'm going to love this game. So just going directly from Star Wars to this, it's very easy because it's still a third-person game, but you also get kind of like some of those force powers. And I think that I'm totally going to get way more powers. I tried not to watch too much on this game. I try not to watch too much on games that I know that I'm going to play because I like things to stay special and kind of unspoiled.
Yeah.
But very excited to see where this game goes because honestly, right now I feel like the possibilities are endless. Like just like the type of like gameplay and what they're giving away, like story wise, I just feel like literally like the sky's the limit with this game, and I'm just expecting like crazy stuff to happen. So I highly recommend it, and I do think that at least so far, and again, it hasn't been that long, but as of what I've played right now, I think you would really like it too. It's not super open world. Like there are areas where like you pass a door and you need like level 2 clearance, but you don't have it yet, so you can't go back through that door. So later on, when you get level 2 clearance, now you can come back. But it seems like a small area, and I feel like this same space is going to be used in like a million different ways. And all the places that you've already visited will continue to change. That's how I feel like this is going. And it's just very interesting and super unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am kind of over the open world. Not over it, but I kind of want to take a break from it. So I'm totally okay with the game not being open world at the moment. I just want to play a really good video game.
Yeah, and like Star Wars was good at that, where it's each planet is kind of an open playground, but it's not really an open world. It's still very much like, okay, here's the objective, go here. But there's like little like side areas where later on you can come back with a new power and then get this extra like item or something like that. So you would like that too, where it's not an open world, go do whatever you want type thing. It's still very much here's your mission, try to complete it, and then later on you can come back and look for some stuff, but nothing is like super important, and you don't have to do that stuff. And I don't know. It's very good. So don't picture it as an open world game.
Right.
I'd say it's more of just like a regular single player game. And that same philosophy kind of applies to Control as well.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I'm very excited to play more of that. And the moment we finish this, I'm going to go back and play more of it.
Yeah, I've been playing Dragon Quest, and I want to keep playing that right now. But I'm busy tonight.
So what? Which Dragon Quest?
This is the newest one. This is Dragon Quest 11. And I know
they're on
you've
11
been.
now.
Yeah, there's 11 now. The one before it was 10. If you didn't,
catching up. They're catching up with Final Fantasy.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. But actually, Dragon Quest is more popular than Final Fantasy in Japan.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's actually they have a holiday. Literally every time the game comes out, they take a day off because they know everybody's going to play it.
Huh.
Yeah, so they try to work around people's schedules with Dragon Quest and try to release the game like on weekends and stuff.
I'm surprised it's that instead of like Pokemon or something.
Oh, well, I'm talking between like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. Pokemon's definitely their most popular. But
I was saying for the day off, like everyone gets a day off when a new Pokemon comes out or something.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they do. I just read about it with the Dragon Quest. Because people were going crazy when the 11th one came out. And they have Dragon Quest X, which is an MMO, actually. A lot of people don't know because it was never released in North America.
That'll get you.
Dude, I wish it was. I would have played the shit out of that. I always want to try and emulate it or something. But I know you've been wanting to play.
PlayStation, right?
I think PS3, yeah. Or maybe just PC. But I know you've been wanting to play Octopath Traveler.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a JRPG before?
See, it's always so hard to tell, like, what I have and haven't played. Like, I've played, like, Earthbound.
Okay, so that is a JRPG.
Earthbound was great.
Yeah.
I loved Earthbound. Bound.
Earthbound.
Well, I was able to finally play that because that was one of the few unique special releases that they put out on the Wii U Virtual Console.
Right.
That was like a huge deal. They announced that during a direct, and they're like, you can get Earthbound today on the Wii U Virtual Console. Everyone's like, what? Everyone's like, you got to play this. It's one of the greatest things ever. And I was like, okay. I mean, I've known about like NES and stuff for years from Smash.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, all right, I'll check this game out because everyone always, refers to it as one of the greatest RPGs of all time. So
is that a grindy game?
Went through it. It was really good. I typically don't like grinding very much, so because I just find it boring when I'm just like literally repeating something over and over again just to level up. Like it just feels like mindless gaming,
Yeah.
So I would say no because I really like the game.
Okay.
Like just the storyline is really cool. The last boss battle is really cool. All the enemies are like funny and unique. It's a pretty funny game. I like the art style a lot. I still think you would really like it. I don't think it's available anywhere.
Yeah, I probably just emulate anymore.
It's not on the SNES Virtual Console on the Switch, is it?
No. Unfortunately not.
That's really disappointing.
But yeah, so that's why I don't think you're gonna like Octopath Traveler, because from what I was reading and when I was playing the demo, it seems like a very grindy game. And
honestly, that game, it was mainly the art style that really made me want to play it.
Art style's really cool. It's
super sick. I'm surprised more people don't do that, like, in between 2D and 3D type thing. I guess it's like 2.5D or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a really cool art style.
And the gameplay is really fun, too. They did, like, a cool twist to the typical turn-action RPG-based play.
Yeah, I think it's just really long, though, right? Like,
it's super long.
There's, like, 8 different characters and you can play through the whole game as all of them or something, or like it switches back and forth between them.
Yeah, you play different stories, and what I read is like people were hoping that like their stories would entwine, but really it's just 8 characters going together, and then when a character's story progresses, it's just them kind of being on their own. I mean, they have like everybody with them, but they don't interact in the story. So they're kind of just there.
Yeah. See, besides that, there was also Bravely Default that I really wanted to play, and they're coming out
Ooh.
with Bravely Default 2.
Yeah, I want to play that. I'm waiting for them to bring both of those onto the Switch.
The second one is coming out for the Switch. I think it's this year.
I thought the second one was already out.
It's like a different name. It was like a sequel, but without being like called Bravely Default
That's
2. I think
right.
it was a different name, and now this one is like officially Bravely Default 2.
That game's sick. I remember playing the demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play the first one. You'd probably like that one too. But again, JRPGs are usually really grindy, and the thing about Dragon Quest XI is they made it easier, and a lot of Japanese people didn't like that. And so there is a higher difficulty levels, I guess, they can add that makes it more harder and grindy. I decided not to turn any of them on, just play the way it was intended. And I kind of like it because it's not grindy, but then it's also kind of too easy. But now that I'm kind of getting close to the half point of the game, it's gotten a little bit harder. It's a fucking long game too.
What, like 150?
Hours?
Yeah.
No, not that long. I mean, I tend to sometimes like leave my console on when I go out to lunch and stuff. So I'm at like 40 hours in, I think, and I think I'm getting to the halfway point.
Okay, so let's round it like 100.
Yeah, 100. I'd say I think I'll have it done in the 80 mark. And then I was reading online that a lot of people finish it around 50 or 60 hours.
Yeah, see, that's what I don't get, dude. Like, everyone was like, oh yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses, it's a 60 hour, like 50 to 60 hour game. And I'm sitting here at like a little over 90 hours. I'm just like, how do people do this? Like, every time someone like,
That's what my brother was saying. He said he spent about 50, 60 hours.
yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe I just spend too much time like doing random stuff in games. Like, I'm that guy. Like, if I like a game, I'll actually do like everything that I can and like look in every area for certain stuff and go back to certain areas. Like, maybe I just take too long
Oh,
playing video games.
but why I think you're gonna like Dragon Quest XI, if that's like a JRPG you want to get into, is that on the Switch they have a fast forward mode, so you could when you're just fighting a monster, instead of having to sit through the battle scene, you could just fast forward.
Who else did that?
I'm like pretty sure Bravely Default had that.
Oh, Fire Emblem does that too.
I need to get Fire Emblem.
Yeah, Fire Emblem, you can, I believe you can simulate entire battles, like literally the whole battle, not just like one like battle, but like the whole like hour-long fight.
Just fast forward through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And do like auto. Because they have that too in Dragon Quest. You just set everybody to auto and you don't really have to do anything.
But then like if you do that, then you finish the game pretty quickly, and it's like that's the most like difficult, like challenging part is winning those battles and stuff, and now you just like basically just push the simulate button and you're like, all right.
I only do that when I know I have to like grind or fight monsters. Like usually common enemies, but when I'm fighting a boss or if it's a big battle, that's usually when I turn it off.
I didn't have to do a lot of grinding in Fire Emblem. There's only like a few times where you really have to do some like side missions just to get extra experience and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like those ones could be easily done, but at the end of every month, that's where there's like the big main battle, and then that progresses you to the next chapter. So like those ones you wouldn't want to simulate, because like those are the ones that you really want to focus on. I don't know if you can simulate the main ones, but again, there's only one per like main one per chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But all the little ones maybe you can.
But yeah, I recommend if you want to get into a JRPG, get it on the Switch, and it's a good fun game. There's collectibles, and I know you like those. You get little mini medallions hidden throughout the game, and collect more. You get cool little items.
Medallions, you say?
Yeah, mini medallions. You get like a little log that you get to keep. And then later there's gonna be a bunch of doors that are locked and you need a special key, and like halfway through the game you get it, and then you get to go back and open them all.
if you get all the medallions, does it allow you to open the door in the Temple of Time?
You know what's funny is actually right now you have to collect 6 orbs to get, like, do something.
And does each orb represent a sage?
They don't specifically say it, but yeah. They're like, here's the red orb, the blue orb, and the green orb, and I'm like, hold on.
You mean the fire orb, the water orb, and the forest orb?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I'm just like, this is Zelda. Good old
Dude,
Zelda.
what is Nintendo doing with not having released a full HD remake of Ocarina of Time?
What has Nintendo been doing in not bringing anything over from the Wii U to the fucking Switch? Like, where's Wind Waker? Where's Wind Waker? Where's Twilight Princess? I want to play these games on the Switch right now, and I can't.
So
what are they doing?
Those I agree with, but they have been bringing over games, dude. They literally just released, what was it? Fire Emblem Encore, whatever that weird game is, that weird Japanese mash between like Atlas Games and Fire Emblem.
What?
They just released that last Friday.
Is that like a Persona?
Yeah, it was a Wii U game.
No way.
And they just released that on the Switch. That was a Nintendo game, dude.
I'm gonna look it up.
I'm forgetting the whole name because it's kind of a strange name.
Because I like the gameplay of, like, I don't know, interacting with people and doing like social interaction with characters in the game that Persona had. And so mixing that with Fire Emblem just sounds... Oh, there it is.
Yeah, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore.
It's such a weird
FE
fucking
is
name.
for Fire Emblem.
Oh, they have Ni no Kunin. That was actually a game I wanted to replay.
Yeah, it's Shin Megami Tensei crossed with Fire Emblem characters, and then they've also added some new ones. Like I think Joker is in it now, in the Encore version.
Is the gameplay like Persona?
I don't know. You'd have to take a look.
Yeah, it looks like
and check it out.
It does.
But a lot of people like it that are into those games. But again, that's another game that was a Wii U exclusive that they just brought to the Switch.
I'm gonna have to. My birthday's coming up in a month, and I have to decide what game I want to bug my brothers to get me. It's gonna be between that, Ni no Kunin, or Fire Emblem. Probably gonna be Fire Emblem.
Does your brother with the Switch download all of his games?
It depends. Sometimes my little brother buys games with his friends, so they'll play it. One friend will play it at his place, and then when he's done, he'll give it to my little brother, and then they just split the cost. So those are usually cartridge based.
You haven't been able to take advantage of any of those?
I should have. I don't know why I bought. Now that I think about it, I don't know why I bought Breath of the Wild. I think they had the cartridge for that. I know they're not gonna let me take the Smash Bros. Cartridge for sure. I'll see what other games they have. If they have Fire Emblem on the cartridge, I'm gonna see if I can borrow it. Don't have me to pay for that.
A lot of people want them to bring Xenoblade over because Xenoblade 2 is coming out, and I guess they are bringing the first Xenoblade over because they announced it on last year's Direct that they're remaking the first one, and that'll be coming out to the Switch. But there's still Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Wii U exclusive. So.
Where's the remake for Xenogears?
Xenogears?
Yeah, the PS1 game that nobody really played that was fucking amazing.
Was it amazing?
It was. I recommend it. You were played as a martial artist, and like you do these combos, but it was also like an RPG turn-based game. And then there's times where
the cover looks familiar.
Yeah.
There was a second one.
Xenogears?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a second one.
I think. Hold on. Maybe I am incorrect on that.
They had cool voiceovers whenever you're
I
hitting.
think I was incorrect on that. It was just a thing that popped up.
Yeah.
That's
an interesting story of how it was like made, because I think they it was okay, yeah, it was gonna be a sequel to Chrono Trigger, and then I think there was some creative differences. And then people at oh no, it was originally gonna be Final Fantasy VII, and then they were like, well, this is a dope game, but it's not exactly what we thought we want 7 to be. Let's just make your own separate game from that. And so they had a lot of people from
as
7.
I'm going through this, Xenogears looks like it's from the same makers of Xenoblade.
Yeah.
And it's literally kind of like the same stuff.
It's a Xenoblade is a spiritual successor to Xenogears.
Yeah. So if you really liked that, then maybe you would really like Xenoblade.
But from what I saw from Xenoblade, it looked more like a not so much turn-based. It looked like an action game.
Yeah, like an action RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Like a real-time.
Real-time, RPG. Yeah. Not opposed to those kinds of games. I like more turn-based.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, maybe I'll play it. Maybe. I mean, definitely they're bringing it to the Switch. I need to get an SD card for the Switch.
Yeah, dude, they've brought Switch games over. Started with Mario Kart Deluxe, and they have both of the Warriors games, and Zelda they technically ported to the Switch. Carnival games.
Oh yeah, the Wii Carnival games.
Don't forget Carnival games.
How come they didn't bring the Wii Sports over?
Dude, honestly, I have no idea why they haven't brought Wii Sports over.
Where's that HD remake of Wii Sports?
Yeah, seriously, you can release that exact same game. Well, I mean, the HD, there was a Wii Sports on the Wii U.
Was it an HD remake?
It was HD.
Was it a remake?
Because they had like some new stuff with like golfing.
Okay.
Put, like the gamepad on the ground, and you would see like the ball in the sand on the gamepad, and then you'd use the Wii remote and swing.
They could do like a Mario Maker where you can make your own golf courses.
There's a lot that they could do, dude, because they need to make a new Mario Golf.
They do. Mario Tennis.
They got Mario Tennis.
A new one.
Yeah, they came out.
Mario Basketball? Why isn't there a Mario Basketball game? Do you remember that Street Ball?
Yeah, they had Street Volume 3. Dude, so remember on the GameCube where Nintendo was getting these great partnerships with third parties to like take some of their top franchises and just throw Nintendo characters into them?
Yeah, Soul Calibur 2.
Yeah, and they did that. Well, to be fair, Soul Calibur did that with each console.
Yeah.
So like Xbox had Spawn, and then PlayStation had the guy from Tekken.
Mm-hmm.
But they got a partnership with EA for NBA Street Volume 3, and they had like Mario, Luigi, and Peach in there just throwing down.
That game was so fun.
That was sick.
Yeah.
Just Mario.
That was the only basketball game I really enjoyed. That's because like he created characters, so I made like the biggest, tallest guy just run through and and make his stats as ridiculous.
Those street games were so fun.
They were,
because it was just like the sports games, but like with a little bit of like violence of just being able to like shove people down and stuff.
They were like the Need for Speed Underground.
Yeah, they had NFL Street too. It was kind of just like the crazier version, like like the versions with no rules type thing, and like those were great. I'm surprised they haven't brought those back in a while.
I would play that in a heartbeat. I like those games.
Yeah, those are awesome. I mean, there's a lot of games that are kind of surprising when you look back and you're just like, why did someone stop making that? I mean, I guess there's always the thing where like studios want to move on to something new.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you look at something like Halo and you're just like, how in the world could Bungie like give away the rights to Halo? Like that's nuts. And it's like, yeah, because they've spent 15 years making the same characters and types of games and stuff, and it's like they want to move on to like something new. So like it kind of sucks for people that like certain games and stuff, but it makes sense that artists want to do new stuff and move on.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Speaking of moving on, I watched and finished The Witcher.
Oh, okay. Because I
Have
saw
you
that on the
finished The Witcher?
topic, and I thought we were gonna talk about The Witcher like 3. I thought you were playing the game.
No.
No, I still only watched episode 1, and I
Really?
don't think I'm gonna end up watching the whole show.
Okay, tell me why.
I'm lazy. I'd
That's
rather
it?
play
I
a
thought you were
video
gonna
game.
say like it wasn't that interesting or something like that. You're just
No,
like,
I actually, the first half of the first episode was kind of mediocre, boring, and then the second half I actually enjoyed it. I'm just lazy. Now if I had Dragon Quest 11 on the Switch and I could put Witcher on at the same time, I would watch it. But unfortunately, that's not the case right now. Well, maybe when I start playing Fire Emblem, I'll have it as a background noise.
well, there it is. 10 out of 10.
I don't think I can
Great
watch
for
a
background
show.
noise when you're doing something else.
I don't think I can watch a show anymore. Like just pay attention to a show.
Why? It's very easy to binge, dude. Like there's only 8 episodes in this season.
That's what you said about Mandalorian, and Mandalorian, even though it was 30 minutes, was still hard
Dude,
to
that
watch.
was even easier. They were only like half an hour long.
I didn't want to watch it. I had to force myself to watch it.
So
Well, what's your opinion? Should I get into it?
My opinion of The Witcher, they're clearly trying to make this their next big thing. Like this is their answer to Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh.
I think it misses that mark. I mean, obviously most things are going to miss that mark, but I'm grading it pretty fairly. I'm not saying it has to be as good as Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh.
And again, this is coming from someone who hasn't played any of the Witcher games, so I don't know how Geralt is in the games versus how he's portrayed in the show. I've read that it's a pretty good representation.
Yeah, I think it is.
And so far, after this first season, I really like Geralt in general as a character.
You like the character or the actor portraying him? Or both, I guess?
Both.
Uh-huh.
I think he does a great job portraying him. I'm totally forgetting his name right now, Superman.
Henry
Cavill.
Carnival.
Yeah, Henry Cavill does a great job. I totally believe him. I literally think that he was like perfect for this character, and he does a great job as him.
Well, it's a good thing he enjoys the games. He's always talk about the games.
He's actually a fan of the games.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's got to be really cool for him to like actually be a fan of these games growing up and playing them in the past and stuff, and now he's like actually taking it really seriously, and you can tell that he really likes being this character. He does a great job, and I really like the character of Geralt in general. Again, I don't know how he is in the games, but in here he seems like a pretty neutral guy, where like he honestly is just usually trying to do the right thing, even though everyone thinks that he's just like this evil, murderous, witcher, and that he kills random people and stuff like that.
Yeah, in the game, he's kind of just doing things for like it's just a job to him.
Yeah, essentially, and they do a really good job of this at the end of the first episode, like you were saying, where he kills all those people, and then the guy immediately just like starts lying, so that like the guy that had him do all of this stuff just starts lying to like get the whole town to hate him, and now like that just keeps the rumors going that witchers are evil and they just kill people randomly and stuff, when that's not what that situation was about. Like he literally said, I don't want to fight you guys, and he was forced into the battle.
Right.
So they do a good job of immediately establishing that he doesn't always do bad things nor want to do bad things, but he clearly gets like the bad end of the stick when it comes to how stories of him are told and how people interpret things about him. So a lot of his life changes once he finally meets the bard, and the bard sings that song that everyone's singing with "Toss a coin to your witcher."
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think it's a pretty good song within the show.
Yeah.
outside of the show, like the song is just okay. Like I'm not going to sit there and start listening to the song in my car, but everyone's acting like you need to do that because it's the thing to do.
Yeah, I
Because
have
it's
a
on
friend that keeps
iTunes
singing
now, and
it.
I'm like, and it is a catchy song, and it is great within the show,
Mhm.
and it actually kind of plays into part of the storyline of the show and stuff, and like it's great. Just I'm not going to be playing it all the time, but I am singing it in my head quite often, to be honest. Like it's stuck in my head, but I don't want to start blasting it in my car.
Yeah, we're not going to be hearing it at Taco Bell anytime soon.
Well, maybe.
Pass a coin
give
to
a
your
taco to your Witcher. Here, Witcher, have a taco. I need you to kill this monster for us. All right, what will you give me in return? Taco Bell. All right, where is it?
It needs to be the supreme crunchy taco. Where's that Doritos Locos Tacos?
I'll give you 3 tacos. That's it. Okay, fine. 3 Doritos tacos. That's better. So yeah, overall, there's a lot of nudity and stuff in it, a lot of sex scenes. So
okay,
if
I'll
you're
watch
into
the show.
if you're into that, it's probably got at least one of those scenes in every episode, if not a little bit more. So they kind of push that pretty hard, and the action, they're very lenient with the action. Like they end the first episode and it was like, okay, like that was really sick. That fighting scene, like he sticks the sword in the guy's like mouth and then like rips it up
Yeah.
to like cut through his skull. Like that was really sick. And they're pretty choosy about when they put in an action scene and when they don't. So the show is very story based, which I'm all for. I really like that. And like we've talked about that, how like Game of Thrones will literally have multiple episodes in a row that are just full story based and barely any action.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. That's not really a critique. There are some moments where you feel like they would have done a battle or a fight and then they kind of like backed off from it, and I don't know if that's just because of like money reasons of not having enough, like there's like something getting in the way of them saying like, yeah, let's have a huge battle scene. So like the season kind of ends, without giving any spoilers, with a big battle scene, and it just kind of seemed like instead of doing like here's like 200 soldiers running at someone, it was like here's a group of 20, here's a group of 20, and here's a group of 20, and you would only see like close scenes with people fighting against those 20 people. Instead of it really feeling like an all-out battle, it was kind of like small waves of people, and it felt to me like that was just like a money constraint of like, okay, this is the best way that we can try to make people think that there's a huge battle going on, but to me it just felt like little small sections instead of a big battle. And I don't know if it's a money thing, because I swear that this show had a ton of money given to it. But I did feel like the ending battle scene could have been a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I do like it, and a lot of reviews and people were saying it kind of felt like a prequel. I totally agree with that. By the end of the season,
that's what I've been kind of reading too, that they're kind of setting up for the next season.
Yeah, the season basically ends like where you think it would, and it's like, okay, now we want some answers, and now we want to see where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
The whole season's basically building up from the very beginning. This point where once these people, see each other or something, you're just like, okay, where do we go from here now? And they do this time jump thing. Without giving too many spoilers away, there's like this time jump, and then at the end, like it all basically catches up with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're watching in the first, I don't know, maybe half of the season or so, like isn't actually happening at the same time. And you don't know that until a later scene.
Yeah, that's what I kind of heard about as well, that there's like 3 different timelines, and you don't know that it's 3 different timelines until like the end.
Yeah. A lot of people complained about that. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I was fine with it because it kind of shows you certain events leading up to that while also progressing the current story at the same time.
But do you think you were okay because like you knew that it was going to be 3 different timelines? Like, do you
No,
think you
I
would
did
have?
not.
Oh, you didn't know.
I didn't know really at the time.
Okay.
So it was a surprise to me when all of a sudden I was like, oh wait, like that's just happening now, but so and so already like is somewhere else. So that must mean that everything I've been watching like was actually in the past.
Uh-huh.
Because they don't show you until a certain scene, and then that scene lets you know that this person's timeline has actually been in the past.
Oh.
Otherwise, the first 4 or 5 episodes or whatever, you're actually thinking that everything's happening at the same time, just in different places.
Right.
So I was okay with it. It wasn't like an oh my god that changes everything type of moment, but it was like interesting. I was like, oh, so that's going on. Like it was fine. And then it also to me felt a little bit like The Mandalorian in and I I mean like it had some episodes that didn't really feel like something was being progressed.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's one episode, for example, where it's like the one like really cool episode where they're like, all right, we're gonna put the Witcher against a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be this cool battle at the end. And this is gonna be like our main episode that shows like, okay, this is typically what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a cool episode, but it didn't really progress any story. It
It
was
was just
kind of
there.
literally just to show this is what the Witcher can do,
Uh-huh.
but the reward that you get from that happening is just okay. That was a cool episode. It didn't accomplish anything story wise. Um, so that was one knock. But again, it was a cool episode, so I kind of let it slide.
Right.
And I guess a lot of people watching this haven't played The Witcher just because it's on Netflix, and a lot of people are just going to be like, "Oh, I've heard good things about this show. I'm going to watch it." So I get that they kind of need to establish what type of person this character is and what he really does. Um, so it was a good episode, just it doesn't really progress the story much. So it is what it is. Overall, I would say that the show was good, not great.
Okay. Like a
But
7.
yeah, I do recommend it. I think it was a good show, and like I binged this in 2 days. I literally watched 4 episodes in a row one day, and then 4 episodes in a row the next day. So it's very easy to get through. Um, and this is a strength to it. The shows would go by pretty quickly. Like all of a sudden the credits start rolling, and I'm like, wow, it's already been a full hour.
See, I had the opposite reaction when I watched the first one. That seemed like it just went on for so long.
The first one is a little slow in the beginning. I'll admit that. Like I feel like most shows are. Like it's hard to start off with a bang and just be like, okay, this show is incredible, because they have to like establish certain characters and some of the plot points and stuff.
Yeah. I remember Game of
So
Thrones, I couldn't get into it in the beginning.
yeah, Game of Thrones is super slow in the beginning.
Yeah.
Later on, you're like, okay, those episodes are great, the slow ones, because they're progressing the story so much and just doing
Mm-hmm.
it like this diabolical behind the scenes type stuff.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, you're just like, oh my god, like why do I care about this? Like, okay, you're a king, blah blah blah. And yeah, it was pretty slow,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
I might give it a shot when I'm not lazy. It's just like I just don't like I just don't have time for a lot of things. And so when I have to decide what I want to do is usually a video game. I'd rather play a video game than watch a show.
oh no, I totally agree. Um,
And like
I
Jolie is just not into like the same things that I am in terms of shows. Like she wants to watch like The Bachelor and stuff. And
hey
so like I'll
hey,
watch it, but
yeah, I
I'm
watched The
just
Bachelor too, but that didn't stop me from watching The Witcher.
but like what I'm saying is like I can't watch it with her.
Dude, that'd be a great crossover.
Yeah, right?
Next year's Bachelor is The Witcher. Let's have a bunch of monsters come up.
And it's just a
Hey,
bunch of
Mr. Witcher.
single ladies. Oh dear God.
You're just a deer? You're not evil. Get out of here. So many monsters. Um, yeah, dude. Plus, they got Peter this year. Peter's our boy. Peter's from TO, dude. Westlake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Bachelor's from our area, our neck of the woods.
I was I don't know if you knew this. I was peeing for Prometheus, and
You were
then
peeing?
PA.
Oh, PA-ing. I
Yeah,
thought you were saying you were
PA.
peeing for
I don't know. I
Prometheus.
didn't
I
know how
was
to
like,
say
what
that.
does that even mean?
So I was paying for Prometheus, and I told them, I didn't want to. They were offering me a full time job, and I turned it down. And I said I didn't want to drive to Hollywood every day. It was kind of a long drive.
Mm-hmm.
But I told them if there's work around my area, let me know. And they were like, oh, like we were filming The Bachelor just recently, and like we always need PAs in that area, like Westlake area. So we'll hit you up. If we need an extra or PA for filming The Bachelor or Bachelorette. I'm like, I could do that. I'm down for that.
They need an extra Hungarian.
Yeah, I need an extra.
Guys, we need a Hungarian in Westlake, but we can't find it.
I know just the guy.
They put you on speed dial. Yeah, for anyone that's listening, though, Peter, the current Bachelor, is from Westlake, which is our neck of the woods in California. So that was exciting. I was rooting for him on The Bachelorette, and unfortunately, Hannah broke his heart.
People seem to. I mean, I'm kind of in the boat. He's kind of a boring guy.
I mean, that's fine though. Like, he's clearly someone that, like, sometimes it just doesn't seem like he's good for TV, but like he
Right.
seems like someone that you would actually want to like use the show correctly for.
Right.
Like you're there not to have like a crazy good time necessarily, but to like actually find someone to eventually like be with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like he's the perfect character for this show. Like maybe he is a little boring because like he's not great on camera and stuff, but overall like he seems like someone that like if you're a woman on the show that you would actually want to be with to marry.
Right. Fucking
So I'm all for Team Peter.
Champagne Gate.
Oh God.
So
you have been watching.
I have been watching, yeah.
Dude, so I thought I think there's more to Hannah Ann than like she gives like off. She seems like a very innocent person, and I do feel like there's probably something there. I haven't seen this week's episode, by the way, so don't say anything from this past Monday. But the champagne thing, dude, that was totally an accident. There's champagne those nights, literally like all over the backyard.
Yeah.
Like for people to just pull people to the side and like, okay, crack this one open. Like literally when that girl went to talk to Peter and complain about it, there was a bottle of champagne sitting right next to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I was like, why is she getting so defensive? Like there were multiple bottles. Like calm down.
Like that's such an easy mistake for someone to assume that like the production people put those bottles there next to the fireplace.
No, but
and like if the bottle was that important to you, why did you leave it there knowing that people are going to go sit next to it?
If it was so special, like why didn't you just bring it with you when you went to talk to him? Why didn't
you?
Yeah, I agree.
Don't leave it out there all night until you talk to him, because you know that someone might think that it's a regular bottle of champagne that someone else might use.
Yeah. But I don't like Hannah Ann to begin with. I think she's kind of a beat.
We'll see. Because that's what I was saying. She gives off the impression that she's like this really nice, sweet person.
No.
But yeah, dude. Night one, she like showed him like the picture that she made with her dad.
She's just so inconsiderate about other people around her, and like it's always about her. Like she always wants time with him, and like cuts people off. I don't know. I don't like her. Julie and I don't like her.
That was only in the first episode. In the first episode, she went up to him like a third time. I was like, no.
No, but then
she was like my pick right off the bat, like right when it started. And like you're looking at all the women and you're like, okay, who do you think is going to win this show? She was the first one where I was immediately like, she's the winner.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
That's what I said. And then like, as the first episode continued and she talked to him and she showed him the painting and stuff, and it was a really good conversation, I was like, all right, I'm sticking with it. And then she comes back to him a second time. I was like, no, please don't be this person that comes to someone and like keeps interrupting. And then she comes back a third
Yeah.
time. I'm like, no.
And she keeps doing like douchey things. Like they had that whole race thing.
That wasn't her. That was the girl that he met at before the show started.
Oh, the lawyer. That's the one I think is gonna win. Is the lawyer.
The one that she met, or that he met before the show even started, like a month beforehand at the Four Seasons in Westlake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's a top person too.
Yeah.
They seem really good together. But yeah, dude, she just like cut right through the thing. Honestly, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
I don't think so either.
Are always making big deals about like these things and like just making drama out of
I fucking
like, tiny
died,
little
dude.
stuff.
When that happens, when it's just drama and it's just like that's what you're gonna be like arguing about, and people are going like it wasn't fair. I'm like, you're on a show to date a guy like.
Yeah, like you don't care about the other people. You're just trying to get the guy to like you and spend as much time with him as possible.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be mad just because someone else is fighting for him more, I guess.
And it's funny too, because like I always have to point out like how much of this is scripted, and like,
dude, I do that too. Like, there's so many girls after night one where I was like, there is no way Peter, this nice guy that's quiet, would ever continue to pick this person. And then boom, he gives them a rose, and I'm like, okay, that is clearly the producer saying we need to keep this person.
Yeah.
Like one of the girls has an upside down cross tattooed on her back. I was like, what in the world? First of all, like crazy. Second of all, I'm just like, Peter wouldn't go for that.
Yeah.
I was just like, no. Like the only reason they're keeping her on is because the show wants drama.
Yeah, there's so many people, and like,
I think probably every episode or every rose ceremony, I think there's probably like 5 people that the studio says, okay, we're going to force you to keep these people. And then everyone else you get to pick for yourself.
Yeah, like
because if he got rid of all the drama people right off the bat, which is like what I would do if I was in his position, then the show would be boring. And they're like, we can't have that.
I can't wait for you to watch the new episode.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
A lot of BS.
Yeah, all right, we'll end it there on The Bachelor.
It's gonna be the Bachelor podcast.
That already exists. There's already like an official Bachelor podcast, and it's like from or like by people that used to be on the show.
What was it, Brian? What's his name? Brian?
Ryan Seacrest?
No, Brian. I went to school with him. Romswam?
Oh, okay.
Doesn't he do a podcast?
About The Bachelor?
Yeah. I don't know if he does it anymore.
Does he? I don't know.
It was like Sass and something.
I don't go on Facebook anymore.
That's
so
right.
If he was advertising it on that, I have no idea.
He was doing it for a while. I don't know if he does it anymore. It was like him, and I don't know if this is his girlfriend or just a friend. Yeah, they would do a podcast.
Good for them.
Yeah.
We could do it. Just the two of us. Just two guys. Just two guys having a good time. Having a good time. I like sports, and I don't care who knows.
Do you watch like the other ones? Like Bachelor in Paradise?
Yeah, we watch them all.
That's
probably the worst one because that one's clearly like 100% drama.
Yeah.
So like that one, I just feel like it's all scripted.
It's all scripted, and I like the intros because they're so stupid.
Well, that one is they're just like
it's so silly,
funny. Yeah. Like the whole thing is just like, oh my god, like really. And like everyone's constantly stabbing each other in the back. Like someone literally says, I love you so much. I don't care who walks down those stairs. You're the one for me. Next girl walks down. He just gets up and walks over to her. Hey, babe, what's up?
I just remembered the one we were watching recently. It was just like a bunch of like nice looking white guys. They were all having fun. They're all like cocky and they're going, yeah, I got this. We're going to be together. And then just a super nice, friendly, big, strong black guy comes in, just strolling through the beach, and they all just start crying on camera, going, "They're gonna take my girl," and blah blah blah. And so this guy's just super confident, and then the skinny douchebag mustache white guy comes in, and then the black guy starts crying, going, "He's gonna take my girl." I'm like, what's going on with this show?
Yeah, that one is by far the most scripted, for sure.
For sure.
But that's that's always the thing, right? Like the there's already a preview after the first episode where they go later on this season, it's the most dramatic season ever, or whatever, and they show
That's
Peter
every
like
season.
ready to give out the ring, like at the very last episode, and
Yeah.
then Chris walks up and goes, "We just found out something. I swear we had no idea about this, but we need to tell you." And then it shows him like crying on a bed or something like that. And I immediately look at my girlfriend Jess, and I'm just like, what he actually meant was, we knew this about this girl the whole time, but we kept this information in our back pocket specifically to screw up the finale so we could have some drama to talk about.
But like, do you think like Peter doesn't know about it? Like, I feel like the producers told him like this is how it's gonna pan out.
I don't know that part. I don't know. I don't know because like if they don't tell him, then it keeps like his emotions more real.
I guess.
Like if he knows that, let's say that like the last information is that like some girl actually has a boyfriend. Like
Mhm.
let's say he knows that, it would be hard for him to be like legit the entire time of knowing her, knowing that she also has a boyfriend, and then his reaction to it, like it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Right.
He'd be like, yeah, I knew this, so it would be hard for it to seem authentic. But I think for sure that like they know all this stuff well ahead of time.
Mhm.
And then because it was weird, like you watched The Bachelorette, right?
Yeah.
And Hannah picks the wrong guy, which I said immediately. I was like, this guy seems like someone who's like a stereotypical, oh, I'm trying to be big in the music industry and like never becomes famous, and she's gonna regret this. And the guy, I ended up being right. The guy was a total douchebag.
Yeah.
So um it's almost like, did they know this? Because then all of a sudden the show picks up where it left off in the finale, or not the finale, but like the reunion or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, all right, let's see what happened. And now they brought a film crew in for Hannah and that guy to have like a serious conversation. And like she's taking the ring off and putting it back on and like all this crazy stuff. And I'm just like, why would he agree to this?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
if this was serious and like now they're together and they haven't been on TV for a while and they're actually trying to do this stuff, and then she finds out that he had a girlfriend or whatever, and now he's trying to have a serious conversation with her, and he knows that he clearly is the one that looks bad here.
Yeah.
Why would he say okay to them continuing to film this and him being on camera in front of her with her taking the ring off and stuff and like being like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know if I can even look at you anymore. Like, why would
Well,
he say yes to that?
probably because money's involved. I'm sure he got paid a good amount of money to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like that's what makes me feel like which parts are real and which parts are fake.
I mean, I'm in the camp of like 90% of it's fake. And I think all of them are just really good. Well, they're actually not really good actors, you can tell, and actresses. But I'm in the camp of.
I mean, they're not actors and actresses. They are real, like random people that are selected.
I mean,
Yeah,
anybody
like
could be.
you could apply to be one of the people on The Bachelorette.
Yeah, but as
and
soon
then
as,
you
as
could
soon
get
as
in as one
money's
of those
involved in
guys.
cameras, you're an actor. You're an actress. You're not the same person when the cameras are rolling.
But and that's the thing too, is that I remember on Colton's season, there was drama because some people were starting stuff about two girls saying that like, oh, they're only there to become famous
Uh huh.
and stuff like that. And then he was making it a big deal, like, oh man, I heard about that, and that really hurts because I'm trying to find someone, and you're just here trying to become famous. And I was like, once this show becomes this popular, that is for sure part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure part of these girls and guys' ideas of the show is okay, once I actually like get on the show, yeah, maybe I want to win, but if I don't win, at least a lot of people have seen me and now are going to follow me on Instagram, and now I can make a ton of money just being an influencer immediately.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I definitely think that taints some of like the actual stuff. Whereas back in the day, right, when the show first started, Instagram and stuff didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was more legit. Sure, I'm sure they got paid to be there,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're still like, okay, maybe they're only paying me like 20,000 or something, and I do actually want to like try to enjoy like being with this guy. Whereas now it's like, okay, even if I'm only there for like one night, maybe people saw me and thought I was really hot, and they're going to look me up on Instagram and follow me.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that kind of taints it and sucks a little bit. But I think everyone is guilty of that. I don't think there's anyone on that show that doesn't think that suddenly like they're not going to become like a little bit of famous and be able to profit off of that.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, join us next week after next week's episode, and we'll break everything down for you guys. Who got the rose? Who didn't? Was it me? Of course it was.
I'm like so bad with names on the show. I'm like this person.
I'm terrible too. And that's one of the things, right? Is that when Peter's there on like the first rose ceremony, there's like 30 girls, right? Yeah. There's no way he knows every single person's name. Because dude, I wouldn't even remember like 2 girls' names that I was really into. Like those names just go in and out, let alone 30 people, and you're talking to all of them throughout, hours, like the late hours into the night.
Yeah.
That first episode, it was night when it started, and then when the rose ceremony started, you could see the sun rising outside. So, like, that's a long night. There's no way he's suddenly just standing there like, Michelle, here's a rose.
Yeah.
Audrey. Like, dude, someone's, like, speaking into your ear. Like, they're pausing the camera in between each rose. Who's that person right there? That's Michelle. All right, thanks. All right, start rolling. Michelle, will you accept this rose? But, yeah, okay, we're going to move on. So, next topic.
Yeah, where would we move on from there?
There are some rumors that they may be remaking Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, hey, we were kind of talking about that recently.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny that they kind of brought that up. So supposedly EA is looking into this. And again, this is just a rumor, but there were 2 rumors that came out today from 2 separate sources. So that's always a positive.
Mm-hmm.
But supposedly it's a remake or / like reimagining.
Okay.
Where like they might take the first 2 games and then
they said
they were going to make them more canon. Like make some adjustments to make sure that like it fits more into the world of Star Wars for what's happened since these games came out. And obviously like update everything to make it run much better and make it so it's actually playable and you can enjoy it in modern day.
Right.
So they're unsure if it'll be like a remake of the first 2 or like a total like reimagining remaster type thing, like with Final Fantasy VII. But yeah, that was some interesting news. And I feel like EA, they've had the Star Wars license since I think 2013. They announced that, and they have released before this past year a total of 2 games, Battlefront and Battlefront 2. Only one of those included any type of single player content, which was Battlefront 2, and it was very short, like 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
And now they finally made a good and I'm not saying that Battlefront games are bad, but it just obviously has a strict niche of just multiplayer only. They finally come out with a great single-player game with Jedi Fallen Order. And now, hopefully, because that game came out in November, and that already became the 6th best-selling game of the year. So that's very good for a single-player game. And I think EA is finally looking at that and being like, all right, maybe we should actually use our Star Wars license more. Oh, who would have thought? It's not like that's probably the biggest licensing agreement that you have. So,
yeah,
I'm glad about that.
Me too.
Make some more stuff, but make sure that it's good. And supposedly these games are some of the best Star Wars games ever made. So, if they can remaster those really well, then all power to them. Plus, it's interesting because it is a totally different game. So it's not like it's like, okay, here's another Star Wars shooter or something like that. Like it's a super unique type of Star Wars game. So it fits a very like unique niche.
Yeah.
I
would like
not much else to say about that because I haven't played them before, but I would totally be interested in possibly playing them if they were remade today.
Yeah, same. I'm just afraid because it's going to have that EA backing on it.
So I would agree, except for the fact that Jedi Fallen Order just came out and it was great. So hopefully, like they're actually focusing on this and they can keep up with the quality of that game.
Yeah.
Sticking with Star Wars, they announced, I think today or yesterday, that the Obi-Wan show on Disney Plus has been delayed. And they said that it's because Lucasfilm didn't like the story. So they showed them the story that it was going to have, and they didn't like it. So they're making them rewrite it, and it is delayed until further notice, until Lucasfilm agrees to how the show is written and what they think the storyline should do. And personally, I'm all for it.
Me too.
I see a lot of people are angry about this, and I'm like, let me guess, you're the same person that probably complained that the last 3 Star Wars movies were rushed and weren't like didn't have enough thought put into them.
Yeah.
You should be all for this delay.
Yeah, I'm all
Like
for
the
it.
fact that they did this is great. I have no again, delays in general suck. Yeah. But as long as it leads to a better final product, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and especially when Lucasfilms literally says the story fucking sucks, let's rework it. Like, definitely don't continue it if it sucks. Nobody's gonna want to watch it.
Yeah, and if they approved the last Star Wars movie,
which sucked,
and they thought this story was bad, this must have been a really bad story.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah,
especially bringing back Ewan McGregor, like actually bringing back like the OG character that everyone knows and loves. Like you got to do him justice.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't just make it like a crappy thing where it's like, okay, here he is again. Like people are making a big deal about the new Star Trek show Pickard, and everyone's happy because they're bringing him back for this last season. And you hope that they do him justice for the fans that are like, oh my god, I get to see him one last time, and then like this will be his official send off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hopefully that's, and I don't actually know if they're making more seasons of him or not. The Star Trek show, I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
But yeah, you hope that they actually take this and make it good. So all for it. Plus, I'm okay with more things being scattered out and not getting so much Star Wars back to back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So, all for it. They also had a leaked Star Wars script for Episode 9, and then they asked the guy that wrote that original script, I think yesterday or today, if it was real, and the guy said yeah. And let me tell you, it seemed like way cooler of a movie. Palpatine was not involved, but this had literally like Rey had a dual lightsaber like Darth Maul but blue. There was a scene where like R2-D2 was hurt and C-3PO like has his arm around him like trying to help him. There was a scene where Kylo Ren was fighting Darth Vader. Like, okay, I'm 100% down. Like that sounds so sick. Like, and I'm sure it would have been like a flashback, right? Like he's trying to like fight the Force within, and like he's somehow like in his mind, Darth Vader.
Yeah, it's like a dream or something.
Yeah, like that'd be such a sick scene. Make sure that it's not like real, because I want Darth Vader to be dead. But that would be such a sick scene to like put in there and be like, okay, it's not real. Kind of like how they did the Rey is a Sith scene, where like it wasn't real, but it was a mental preview of what she could become if she went to the dark side.
Right.
Like that was a sick scene. So I like if they had that with Kylo fighting Vader, like that could have been really cool. Like Vader trying to say like, you think you can like be as powerful as me, like you'll never be as powerful as me type thing. Like that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole like Rey in this story wouldn't have been a Palpatine. I think it would have turned out that Kylo had killed Rey's parents. Like all this really awesome stuff that like just seems like it would have fit a lot better and wouldn't have been like a cop out, at least. Like maybe it still wouldn't have, like who knows what it would have been, but at least it would have been like legit and not just a cop out of, hey, here's our new bad guy. Or we're bringing back an old person because why not? And supposedly he wrote that before JJ took back over, and then once JJ took back over, they decided to just scrap that, and they wanted to write their whole own script. So again, this has to do with Disney not having a plan and setting out their idea for all 3 movies, and then also switching directors and writers between movies, which is just a nightmare. I don't understand how you can have a title this big and just totally
Not have a plan.
not seem to care about it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to sit down and be like, what is this series going to be? Let's write it out. We need an A, a B, and a C, and just figure it out. And we got to go all the way through, and it's got to be in sync. And
Yeah.
they didn't do that
It's
in any
insane.
way. So what could have been, we'll never know. But I guess the only bright side we have to look forward to is maybe some cool deleted scenes for episode 9. But again, who knows if that's ever shown. So we'll end the Star Wars talk there. Moving on. So Ninja Theory, who did Hellblade and is coming out with Hellblade 2, announced another new game called Project Mara. And with Hellblade, they made the game about sound and stuff, and how like there are these like, it's like a mental illness of, and I'm probably totally getting all of this wrong, but it's about like certain sounds that you hear, and sometimes those sounds aren't actually there, and it affects like some people and stuff. And they interviewed a lot of people that had that mental illness, and they made sure that they were taking really good care of like reenacting what it's like to live with that. And that's why they actually tell you when you play Hellblade that the game is best played with a set of headphones, because you get much more of a personal effect of like where the sounds are coming from and exactly what they sound like and everything. And your character is playing through that whole game with that mental illness, and it's a very like large aspect to how the game plays and works. So they're doing a lot of that stuff with their games now, I guess, and their new game is going to do the same thing, but with what they call mental terror, where they're researching like really good ways of like how to scare people, like, I don't know, mentally or something. But it seems really legit. Like, they're really not just trying to like make a scary game, but something that's like legit of like, okay, how does this actually affect people when they see it type stuff. And they said, quote, Project Mara will be a real world and grounded representation of mental terror. Based on real lived experience accounts and in-depth research, the goal is to recreate the horrors of the mind as accurately and realistically as possible. Project Mara will be an experimental title and a showcase of what could become a new storytelling medium. So it sounds really cool.
Yeah,
and that's
promising.
Basically all they have said. But I'm all for it because I love scary stuff. And if you can make this somehow like a crazy, scary experience, I'm all for it. If this is their way of saying it's going to be unbelievably scary, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think horror games have always kind of been jump scares, and so it's refreshing to see a different take on how to make a horror game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the best representation of non-jump scares is PT.
Oh yeah.
PT was, still to this day, a lot of people consider it like one of the scariest games of all time, even though it was just a tech demo. But it was such a great job of just like a slow burn where you just keep going in a circle, and each time you come back through this exact same hallway, like something is different.
Yeah.
Like, you just notice that, like, okay, now all of a sudden, like, the picture is on the wall is crooked, or okay, now the lamp is on. Like, just small stuff that just really creeps you out. And then like all of a sudden there's a person that's like turned around. But a lot of it isn't like just jump stuff all of a sudden, except for when you die. I think maybe the person just comes and gets you. Or maybe it's the ending or something like that. I can't remember. But they did a really good job of just making it like a really good slow burn, and that was very well done horror. To be honest, I wish that game would have come out. I know it was a Silent Hills game, which eventually turned into Death Stranding, since they couldn't use Silent Hills anymore once. What was it, Konami?
Kojima?
Once Konami got rid of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so That sounds really cool, and I'm all for game companies like investing money and resources into like figuring out new ways to get really cool and interesting experiences for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still making that along with Hellblade 2, which now that you have finished God of War, I highly recommend that you play this game as well because it's also very much into Norse mythology.
Hellblade?
Yeah, it's all about Norse mythology.
Have you played it?
Yeah, we've talked about this multiple times.
Really?
The first Hellblade, yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
I've
I thought it was one of the games that you bought that's just on hold.
No. Every time I've talked about Hellblade on this podcast and with you, I've talked about how great it is.
Oh. I'm on a podcast?
Where am I?
Yeah.
But yeah, you would like it because it's not open world. I mean, it's not really open world. It's single player. It's not very long. And you just go from point A to point B. It's a gorgeous looking game. I think you'd really like it too. And it's Norse mythology.
Yeah, I love Norse mythology.
It's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's definitely up your alley. I know that before, when I told you about it, you said it didn't really seem like a game that you would like. I completely disagree. I think you really would like it.
Now, is this a game that I could play without the headphones so Jolie can also watch?
Yeah, well? You don't need the headphones. They just, like, when you literally start the game, it says the experience is better if you play it with headphones. Okay. But you don't have to. You can still play it with regular TV speakers.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think you would really like it, though. And I guess not super long, so you don't have to sit here and be like, okay, I have to invest, like, hours and hours into this game. Like,
right. Yeah, I'll get it if it's on sale next time.
Yeah, most sales typically will have this game now because it's been out since, I think, 2017 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the next thing? All right, so people were making a big deal about this when the news first broke out for Death Stranding. That Death Stranding is also coming out for the PC. And people are angry who, are total PlayStation fanboys because they're just going, oh no, now we can't say that it's a PlayStation exclusive anymore.
Thank God.
You technically can. You can still say that it's a PlayStation console exclusive.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know why people would be mad about that game
stuff.
Specifically.
Yeah. So, it became a big deal. And I don't know why, because when the game was first announced, Kojima said, or like the initial press release said, it was coming out for PlayStation and PC.
Yeah.
And then after that, they just never mentioned the PC version because obviously it was going to come out first on PlayStation. So it's been out there and people decided to get angry about it anyways. Because all they see is, oh no, we no longer have another exclusive. Like, it's still a console exclusive.
Yeah, I think the bigger deal is the Horizon Zero Dawn. That's kind of a bigger one.
So this was leading me into that. So Death Stranding was the first big PlayStation exclusive game that is also going to be coming to PC later this year. And then it came out recently that Horizon Zero Dawn is also going to be coming to PC this year. Now, that game has also been out for a while. I think, that was also 2017?
No, I think it's even... That game was like one of the first ones to come out on the PS4. So, I mean... I don't know, when did the PS4 come out? 2015?
No, bro. 2013.
What the fuck?
Where am I?
Yeah,
you still haven't told me where I am.
This is a podcast? Well, I'm gonna look it up. But I'm pretty sure that was like a 2015 game.
Yeah, I was right. 2017, February 28th, really? 2017.
Dang.
Yep.
Because I was thinking about, I keep seeing it on sale. I'm like, do I get this? Am I gonna enjoy this game?
Yeah, and then they released the DLC about it, or with it, November 7th of 2017. And this game was huge. It got great reviews. Everyone seemed to love it. And again, now it's coming out that it's probably going to come out to PC, and you get a lot of people complaining about it, going, "Oh my god, we are losing another exclusive." And I think all this is, honestly, is Sony going, "Okay, we have a couple of, you know, pretty good games, and especially Horizon is basically at the end of its life. Like,
Yeah.
there's very few people purchasing that game brand new unless they just bought a PS4 or something. So how do you capitalize off of that? You release it on PC, and now people that don't have a PlayStation can play this game because they've heard great things about it, and you can get a little bit extra money off of this game late in its lifespan. I think it's smart, and more people get to play a game that haven't been able to play it. And I don't see why people complain about it, but that's what people do these days. So I do have the game.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have the complete edition. So it's the game plus the DLCs and everything. And I haven't played it yet. I thought about playing it next, but I ended up starting up Control. After Control, I think I'm going to go to Death Stranding.
Not play much of that.
Dude, I don't know. I think I'm going to actually like the game. It looks pretty interesting to me. Also, I feel like the story is going to be really interesting, where I'm going to really want to know what's going on. And story's pretty, hook me pretty good if it is good. So,
what's the gameplay for Horizon Zero Dawn?
It's a third-person action adventure.
Kind of like a Zelda type game?
It is open world, though.
Uh-huh.
But supposedly it's a really good open world. There's a lot to do. And it always looked really interesting to me. I think it's really cool, mixing mechanical stuff with animals. So it's a deer, but two of its legs are robotic, and one eye is robotic. It was all it seemed like a really cool universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of in the past, everyone kind of lives off the land type stuff, and it looks like they're all natives, but with all this technological advancement. And I always heard really good things about it. I don't think there was a single review or thing said about that game that didn't come out as really positive.
Yeah.
Now, that's a game I could see a sequel to that launching on the PS5.
Definitely.
I could see Sony saying, here's Horizon 2, and it's launching with the PS5. Because that one will have been about 3.5 years. So I could see that one coming out. But we'll see. So, yeah, I don't see why it's that big of a deal. The more games that are on more places to play, the better. And that's what Microsoft has already done. They've already said that pretty much all of their console exclusives and stuff are also going to be on PC and whatnot. So,
yeah, and I don't think people are really fighting towards, pick PC versus PS4, two definitely totally different systems.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole point, is that if you play all your games on PC, maybe you don't even have other consoles. You just strictly play your PC games. So it's not like they're really competing with much.
Yeah.
Now, I guess you could say that because Xbox is releasing all their exclusives on PC, if Sony started doing that, you could just get a PC and play every game from everywhere, literally.
Yeah,
and never have to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox.
That's what I've always been in the camp of.
Yeah. My thing is that I prefer playing games on a couch with a large TV and chilling. And I'm not the biggest fan of sitting for hours in a chair
Well, you
humped
don't need
over
to.
a keyboard.
You don't need to play with a keyboard. You can still play with a controller.
Yeah, but it's still harder to hook that experience up to your TV. You'd still be at a desk.
You don't have to. Especially now with the Steam. They have this thing, it's like a Steam dock. You just literally plug it in and it's like a
Is that still a thing though? I know that exists. Do people actually still use that? Do they update it and make sure that it works and stuff?
My brother has one and he's been using it. He said there was one issue. Oh, you have to have the PC on. So you can't just turn on the dock thing and then just start playing. You have to turn on your computer. And like I think you have to have Steam running on your computer. So it's really just like a Chromecast.
For the Xbox, you can kind of do the opposite.
Where
you can stream your Xbox to your computer.
Right.
And then you literally can plug in your Xbox One controller into the USB port and just have a wired connection to your computer, and it's just streaming the whole thing over your home connection.
Yeah. It's
similar. So like if I suddenly I'm like, okay, I want to play this game like in another room, I don't have to bring the Xbox there. I can just open up the computer and connect to it and play the game off of the computer or even a tablet or whatever. I don't use it a lot. I think maybe I did in college a little bit because I didn't have a TV in my bedroom.
Right.
That's what made the Wii U a lifesaver, to be honest, because I could play games on the screen itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so haters gonna hate, but I'm all for games coming out in more places.
Me too.
Doom Eternal. Have you played Doom?
No, but my brothers keep telling me to play it because it's fucking amazing.
So I have Doom, the first one, the new first one, and I never finished it, which is very rare for me. There was just something about it where I don't know if like it was like just too intense, and I'm just like, okay, I can't play like long stretches of this game. Like it's pretty intense. Like the music kicks in, and like it's just like really hardcore music, and there's just like so many monsters, and it's very fast paced, and you're just running around, shoot, and it's just like it's super intense. It's literally an adrenaline rush. It's like going on a roller coaster playing that game, and I never finished it because I don't know. I thought about going back to it because I'll be honest, Doom Eternal looks sick. It looks so cool.
I haven't seen any gameplay for it yet.
It looks really sick, and supposedly it's twice as long as the last Doom. It's like they said maybe 25 hours, and the other one was like 10 to 12 or so. But yeah, a lot of previews have been coming out this week for it, so everyone's saying it plays great and it's really cool and stuff. So we'll see. I'd have to finish the first one.
I played it a little bit.
Before getting that one. It's pretty cheap, the first one. You can find it pretty cheap. I think it was like 2016 when it came out.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun when I played a little bit of it, but it was just, I don't see myself playing more than just like a level and then being, okay, I'm over it, because there's just kind of nothing to it, in my opinion. You're just shooting. I'm not into shooters to begin with.
Well, that's what it was to me. I think that was it. Like the storyline, there's not much of a storyline there. You're just kind of like, here's a bunch of aliens, just go kill them. It was kind of, to me, it was like mindless killing.
Exactly.
But it was like the best version of mindless killing.
It's the best arcade super intense game. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're like, okay, I want to go sweat right now, but I don't want to work out, go and play Doom. Because you're just going to be like, it's so intense. And you're just like, your heart's racing. It's good. It's good, but it's not for everybody. And I totally get that. Otherwise, I don't really have much more to say about it, but I thought I'd bring it up. That is it for the news stuff. The only other stuff we've got left are 2020 predictions for each company in Game of the Decade. Actually, before that, we got all-time best-selling consoles.
Yeah, you sent me that chart. That's a nice looking chart. Yeah,
let's move to that. So, updated numbers for units sold of consoles for the best selling consoles of all time have come out, and it's kind of interesting. So in first place with the most sold consoles by far for a home console is the PlayStation 2 with 159 million units sold. The next up, you have to go to handheld to the Nintendo DS at 154 million sold. Next would be Game Boy/Game Boy Color, so they combine those sales, which I think is fair. And that comes out to 119 million sold. And then next best-selling home console is the PlayStation 4 at 106 million.
What surprised me is the one
That's
after.
crazy.
That is crazy, but then just look below that. The very first PlayStation
Sold 103.
That's insane. And so PlayStation is just dominating the console war. Not war, I guess, but just like sales-wise. Like, why is that? Why is the PlayStation selling so many consoles and Nintendo? You would think Nintendo's the one beating them out.
You would think so, right? Because when I was little, I knew very few people with a PlayStation. But
Yeah,
everyone I knew had an N64.
Yeah. I had a PlayStation
And
and
N64
N64.
isn't even on this list.
I remember, all my friends, when I would talk about PlayStation games, like, I could not talk to anybody about it because nobody had a PlayStation.
Yeah. I didn't know anyone with one. And you look at this list, and N64 isn't even on it.
I didn't even realize that. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
I know,
insane.
right? Isn't that crazy? And I think something might have happened with the first PlayStation where Japan was like all on board with it.
That's probably
I think
what it was.
the first PlayStation had a lot of RPGs, and the N64 didn't have
anything.
as many.
Yeah.
And especially Japanese culture must have super just jumped out on that because they just really loved those types of games and they were just getting a lot of them.
Yeah.
So PlayStation just took off in Japan. And then once it takes off in Japan, then Sony's like, okay, it looks like we got something here. And then they just start marketing it like crazy in other places.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very surprising to me that the first PlayStation is that high up. And N64 isn't even on the list when they were direct competitors.
Yeah.
Also, the PlayStation originally didn't even have thumbsticks. The N64 at least had a thumbstick straight from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it was much better with 3D games because you could move around them a lot more until Sony updated their controller.
Yeah. And then even then, it's funny, looking back, there was literally a button to activate it.
Yeah, right.
The analog button.
So that was crazy. But you look at the PlayStation 2. Now that was different. Everyone I knew had a PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that was the go-to console.
And
we were talking about this
yeah,
with like the PS3. PS2 was like a built-in DVD player, and that was a big selling factor for a lot of people.
It was, because DVD was obviously like the next big thing, right? And like everyone was like, okay, I'm tired of all these huge VHSs, and you got to rewind it afterwards and all this stuff. Sony was like, hey, if you buy our console, not only do you get a PS2 and you can play our games, but you can also play your DVDs. And at the time, like you said, it was pretty cheap for it.
You mean I could watch The Matrix on my PS2?
Well, you could also play The Matrix, Alec.
Oh my god. Now can I do both at the same time?
Well, if you buy 2 of them.
Give me 3.
You could watch each Matrix movie at the same time on each one.
Yeah, that's insane. Just looking at this list, especially the one actually throwing me off is the DS.
Dude, the DS was crazy because anyone that had a handheld, so when we were little, it was the Game Boy Color that was the big thing.
Yeah.
That was like the big console. Then it went to the Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance is sitting down at 82 million. And that came out at the same time that Sony got into the game with the PlayStation Portable. And they sold 80 million PSPs.
That's got to be a Japan thing because I barely knew anybody with a PSP.
I didn't know a lot of people because it was A, more expensive, and B, didn't have as many good games.
Yeah. They had a lot of good RPGs, and that's why I think it's more of a Japan thing. They had the Persona games.
But it makes sense once you see that of why they came out with another PSP with the Vita.
Yeah, So,
Like,
yeah, it sold really well.
yeah, it did sell really well. So it's like, okay, it totally makes sense why they would try to continue this. And the Vita totally flopped.
Yeah.
So I think there was like a kind of point after the DS where a lot of mobile gaming went to phones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think happened. So the DS, when that was out, the iPhone was very like new when it came out, and it was very expensive. And also, not only that, but the App Store didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get like all these different types of games. And that's why it sold 154 million, dude. And even if you look at the other, like the Game Boy and stuff, like those were very high selling consoles. And then as phones started to become more popular and more kids got phones, the handheld sales just went way down.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have PlayStation Vita sales on here again because they're very low. The 3DS did make this, but even the 3DS only sold 75 million. That's less than half of its successor, or its predecessor, the DS.
Yeah.
Less than half. That's crazy to come out with a new product that's better and you sell less than half the amount.
Yeah, the DS came at the right time when people wanted more portable but didn't have the smartphone technology yet.
Yeah. I think this chart directly shows the effect that cell phones had on the mobile market. 100%. Now, the SNES also sold less than the NES. And what's kind of weird is that each Nintendo console, it seems like they each sold less consoles. Like, the more consoles they made, the less they sold. GameCube doesn't make this list. Wii U clearly doesn't make this list. The only newish Nintendo console to really like become popular was the Wii, and that's because they literally went and did something that no one else was doing, and it was fully 100% unique. And that you
And it was
could
dirt
get
cheap too.
Dude, you couldn't get a Wii for the first year. Like you could not find one, and that still only sold 102 million. Like that console was sold out for years.
Yeah.
And even once it wasn't sold out anymore, they were still selling like hotcakes, and it only sold 102 million. And that's obviously crazy big, but it's insane when you think that it sold less than the original PlayStation. It hasn't sold as much as the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 outsold the Wii. Dude, the Wii was a phenomenon.
Yeah, that's confusing me too. PlayStation kind of made sense because it came out around the time when it was still only, I don't know how many bits, 16 bits, and PlayStation was doing 3D. Well, I guess N64 was too. So
64 was 64 bits.
Yeah.
That was why it was.
Well, it could also be because they were doing disc-based and not cartridge-based.
That was their big thing, right? So back to what I was saying, the N64, they were going to partner with Sony to do disc-based gaming.
Yeah.
And that fell through. They had prototypes and everything. And once that partnership fell through, Sony said, let's take this, like the stuff that we made for discs, and let's just do it ourselves. Yeah, and that's literally how the PlayStation got created.
And
so Nintendo essentially created their own competitor by getting Sony involved in the first place, and then them just not being able to work it out.
And if I remember correctly, I think the PlayStation was also a music player. You could just throw in a music disc.
A CD?
A CD, yeah.
Oh, that's what they are.
Yeah, those things.
Put in a music playing disc.
Yeah. It was a music box. But yeah, you could throw in a CD and play music on it. I'm pretty sure you could do that on the first PlayStation. And so PlayStation is really good at doing that, kind of just adding things to their system to do extra things. But then PS4, I don't know why that one's so high.
Yeah, it's crazy. And what's ironic about that is, remember before the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, so many people were predicting like this is the final generation. there's not going to be any more consoles. Everyone's just going to move to some type of streaming thing or game service, you
Uh-huh.
know? And they're like, the consoles are done. Like, there's no money in consoles anymore. And then you look at this, and the PS4 is one of the best selling consoles of all time by far.
Yeah, why is that?
It outsold the Wii, dude. Like, that blows my mind. I'm looking at this chart, and I feel like the Wii would be at the top. Like 160 million, that seems like Wii numbers to me. But it's like, nope, Wii sitting down at 102.
Yeah.
Which, again, is still the fourth best-selling home console of all time, not including the DS and the Game Boy because they're handhelds. And I don't know. That's just nuts to me. I think that once a lot of like streaming stuff started to become popular, I wonder if that made consoles start to be a little bit more popular because more games are being like shown on the internet and people are like, oh, I want to play that. Whereas before you couldn't access, like Twitch and streaming and stuff. And then since then it's obviously grown a lot more.
I mean, I think part of it was also just Xbox screwing up the Xbox One with the whole Kinect thing. As soon as so many people saw that you have to get the Kinect and have it connected,
That's actually a
just
really good point.
opted to the PS4.
That's a really good point. So Microsoft actually doesn't show their sales numbers for how many consoles they've actually sold. So on this list, they're at the bottom with 41 million. That's an estimate because Microsoft doesn't directly show it.
Right.
So if they're at 41 million and PlayStation 4 is at 106, I think if Microsoft didn't mess up the beginning of this console generation,
They'd be both kind of in the middle.
I think 20 million, at least 20 million of those PlayStation 4s would be Xbox Ones. And
I
Xbox
agree.
would be at 61 at least, and PS4 would be at like 86.
Mm-hmm.
And the PlayStation 4 would be at much more reasonable numbers, and the Xbox One would also be much higher.
Because at the time, if you think about it, like, yeah, nobody wanted the Kinect. They don't want to have this camera looking at you, so they're like, okay, Wii U or PS4. Well, Wii U's not
Wii U didn't come out until a year after the launch of those.
That's right. So,
Wii U was 2014.
So they didn't really have much of an option.
Yeah, it was PlayStation or Xbox, and Xbox was $100 more for a camera thing that you didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So people are just looking for the first, year or so of like, okay, the PS4 is $100 less. Dude, honestly, I feel really bad for Microsoft because that launch of that console single-handedly has, in my opinion, led to them at least selling 20 million less consoles.
At least, yeah.
Because even now when I talk to people, I feel like most people have a PlayStation 4. Even people that I know that don't really like game much, but they have a console, they have a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And I felt like when it was the 360 days, the people that I knew that didn't game much, like maybe they just played Call of Duty or just played Madden or something, they all had Xboxes. Like Xbox was your go-to console if you didn't like care about gaming. And not that they don't. But I mean, like, people that don't care about gaming in general, if they had to choose between one of the consoles, they would typically go with Xbox because they're like, oh, I hear Xbox is really good with, like, shooters and stuff.
Well, I think it comes down to actually pricing. An Xbox 360 was just a cheaper system than the PS3 at the time.
For sure.
When it first came out.
For sure. And that helped the Xbox a ton in the beginning. Because the original Xbox didn't sell huge numbers because Microsoft was very new, and obviously it was their first console ever. And, people are curious, is it actually good or whatnot? They had Halo, which obviously blew the doors off for that console being successful. But the 360 definitely had the huge head start right out of the gate. And like you were saying with the PS2 of how they were marketing it as like the cheapest way to get a DVD player.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 3, they went with a Blu-ray, and Blu-ray players, I think I mentioned this previously on a podcast, Blu-ray players were $1,000. So a PS4 starting at $600, and it includes a Blu-ray player, was by far the cheapest way to get a Blu-ray player.
Mm-hmm.
So it technically was a pretty good deal, and they were losing money even at $600 selling PS4s for.
Right.
The downside is most of the people purchasing that just want to play games and don't even know what Blu-ray is yet.
Or don't care. Like for
or
me,
don't care. Yeah.
playing a normal, like I didn't even want to buy a Blu-ray disc thing to just watch the movie. Even if I had a Blu-ray player, like I'd rather go cheap and get the DVD in its normal format, you know?
Yeah. So it's really strange looking at this chart and then looking back in history and saying like, okay, when did they mess up because their numbers are lower, or when did they do really good because their numbers are higher than I expected?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, even looking at the chart, PS3 still did really well.
It did, because later on they dropped the price like crazy, and then they came out with like 2 refreshed slim versions of it. I think they had 2 refreshes of it.
Yeah, the original was so huge.
Yeah, and then they dropped the price like crazy, and then they ended it with some pretty strong games like, The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So they did a good job recovering from it, but they definitely started off at the bottom. Whereas Xbox One, I just feel like they got a really bad start, and I think they're more so focusing on now like, how do we get the most people to play our games because we can make more money through that, as opposed to just making money off of people who only purchase Xboxes.
Yeah.
Like, how do we also profit off of people who only play games on their phone, or also people that only play on PC? And they've done a really good job of expanding their games as a like they're kind of making Xbox a platform of where you can play your games, as opposed to it just being a singular console.
Right.
And I think that's going to work out very well for them in the long run. And I think they also have been looking more towards this next console generation, and just trying to put this past generation behind them, because they clearly messed up. And it shows in the numbers when they've only sold 41 million. And at the end of this year, it'll be seven years that these consoles have been out when the new ones come.
Insane.
Yeah, it's been 7 years already. And then you look at the Switch, right? And the Switch is just above Xbox One with 42 million. And the Switch has only been out for 3 years. And it still has another 2 months to go before it's been out for 3 years. So
yeah, I can see the Switch if
the
they
Switch,
keep this up to going somewhere in the middle.
I see the Switch hitting 100 million, because I think they're going to keep the Switch, and just have multiple versions of the Switch.
Right.
And just slightly update it, kind of like how they just slightly updated the regular Switch with a more efficient chip for better battery life. I think they're going to make small adjustments to it, and they'll all go towards Switch sales.
Do you think this is Switch? Do you think it's including the Switch Lite now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 100% it includes all Switch sales, regardless of which one.
So I'm wondering if that's going to help it as well.
Because that would be the same thing for PlayStation 4. Like, that includes PlayStation 4 Pro sales, and Xbox One
and all that,
Xbox
right?
One X sales.
Well, yeah. I'm wondering just when the list was made. Like
this is a new list. This came out today.
Oh, okay, this came out today. So yeah, it's got to include it.
These are all the most recent, except for Xbox One. Like I said, it's an estimate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then like looking at the 3DS, that only sold 75 million, and they also messed up their launch, to be fair, because they came out at $250.
Yeah, they were kind of a pricey system too.
So they missed out on a lot of earlier sales too. I mean, think about it. Like, that was the same price the Wii was when it came out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's interesting. I kind of like looking at lists like that, because sometimes you think that something's more popular than it is. With Xbox, though, the Xbox isn't super popular outside of the US, PlayStation and Nintendo are much more popular worldwide. Xbox is very popular within the US.
Right.
So like the Xbox 360, terrible in Japan. Absolutely terrible. Like they could barely sell any because just no one in Japan cares about, I don't know, Xbox games or whatever, because they don't have any of those like interesting Japanese games that anyone there would really care about. So that could also kind of change some of the numbers that just Microsoft doesn't do as well outside of the US. A lot of their games, like even if you look at like Gears of War, it's a very like American macho type style, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, they all want their JRPGs. And honestly,
Yeah,
actually, now I was thinking about it, the PS2, I'm sure it did really well in general because that's where you could play Final Fantasy 11, and at the time, I don't think there was it was one of the biggest MMOs until World of Warcraft was out. People
you can
forget
play an MMO on there?
Yeah, people forget that Final Fantasy 11 was an MMO on the PS2.
I mean, I know they had the Ethernet adapter that hooked onto the back, and you could plug a cord into it. But
yeah, and so I think that kind of helped it. I think PS3 they ported it over, and then Final Fantasy 14 was on there too. And I don't think Xbox 360 had an MMO on it. Like a big one that I could think of. I don't think so.
the Xbox, they had like a few big Japanese games that they got for exclusives, but then they just didn't sell very well because the
Nobody had
American
one.
market, well, the American market isn't huge on JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were trying to do this to get more of like a Japanese market to like the games too, but then they just don't have enough Xboxes there, so they're like, I'm not going to get this whole console just to play a couple games.
Right.
But they had like Blue Dragon, and there was like one other Japanese warrior type one. But yeah. Looking at this list, I had a PS2. Eventually, I traded it in for an Xbox. Never had an original DS. I had a Game Boy Color. It was yellow. It was the Pikachu Special Edition, came with Pokemon Yellow. I have a PS4. Never had a PlayStation. I had a Wii. Never had a PS3. Had an Xbox 360. Had a Game Boy Advance. Did not have a PlayStation Portable. I had a 3DS. I did not have an NES or an SNES, and I've got a Switch and Xbox One. So to be honest, I've had most of these consoles.
I've had more of these consoles than you. I think I've had almost all of these except for
PSP.
No, I've had the PSP.
You had a PSP?
I did, but like way late, like literally.
Oh, like when it was like $30 at GameStop.
Because this was when my brother was like super into God of War, and he played all three of them, and he was like, "Mom, I need to play the other God of Wars that's on the PSP." So she, for Christmas, got PSP with like all the God of Wars and Final Fantasy, like all these games, and altogether
was it like God of
$50.
War Ascension or something like that?
There's like two of them. Yeah. I mean, for $50, it was a really good system.
Dude, I remember they came out with movies for it too.
Yeah, and shows.
Because it was disc-based, they literally had like movies and TV shows for the PSP, and you would like pop in a season of Lost on your PSP to watch it.
That's honestly why PlayStation, I think, is so high up on this list, because they're really good at like not just being the game console. They're like the movie people, they're the music people, they're the disc-based. They were the first disc-based systems, I think. Don't quote me on that, actually.
Well, yeah. Well, Sega had the Saturn and then came out with the Genesis. I can't remember when.
Dude, straight up, the only system I never had was 2 Xboxes. That's it. I've had all the other ones. Oh, I've never had an NES. Never had the original. I had the Super Nintendo, not the original. Um,
I only never got a DS because I had played at my friends all the time.
uh-huh.
And then, like, literally every time I'd go to a friend's house and I'd play it, I would just be like, all right, I don't really need it because I always play it at their house.
I had the light. The light was sick.
Yeah, it was nice.
Cause
And they had like the DSi, and they had like cameras on the front,
yeah,
and they had a camera on the inside. Dude, that was the OG selfie camera.
yeah, they were ahead of its time.
It really was.
Do you remember that camera that was for the PS2?
Yeah.
That was interesting times. That was the Wild West of the gaming system.
Anything was possible.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at all the extensions for like these older systems as well. Mainly the Super Nintendo, they had like all those attachments, dancing floor mat thing. There's a lot of interesting stuff the Super Nintendo had.
Dude, yeah, for Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah.
All that stuff, and you'd fold out the whole mat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. I think we might have to wrap this up.
You gotta go?
Yeah. Getting kind of tight on time, and it's going to be like a half an hour drive to where I have to go.
All right, perfect, because now I get to play Control after I
I kind of
get a little snack, heat up some pizza, eat some chips and salsa.
I'm playing a little D&D before I'm going to a party.
Oh, look at you. Oh yeah, it's Friday night, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Friday night. I'm actually busy. I gotta celebrate before I go back to my normal 9 to 5 job.
The good old days.
Good old, I wouldn't say good, but old days.
The consistent days.
The consistent paydays.
I now have a sleep schedule days.
I don't want that. I've been enjoying just going to bed at 4 in the morning, waking up at noon.
And then starting our podcast late at night.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's late. For you, it's not.
For me, the night's just starting.
Like, it's already 9 o'clock here.
Yeah.
That's bedtime.
Well, for me, that's just like me starting up my game console. I play till, play a couple hours.
I've been pretty bad with my bedtime. I go to bed at like, I don't know. I've been like over, like past 1 lately.
Really?
I've been trying to make that better. I think last night, by the time I was like in bed, head down like around 12:30.
Uh-huh.
I need to improve because I wake up too late, and then by the time I get like my day started and stuff, it's like 1 o'clock. I'm just like, I don't need this stuff.
Yeah.
Not that anything would change, but at least I'd be up earlier and then going to bed earlier. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We will sign off on that note. So, my name is Dane Alexander, and you can find me at DaneAlexander62 on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find our podcast account on Twitter at TheCoopZone1. And you can also email us if you have any questions or just comments that you'd like to make. And you can email that at, what was that again? TheCoopZone@yahoo.com.
Yeah, and you can find me, Elek Batoczki, Batoczki, basically on all social media, Twitch. I know there's a couple people still on right now. We do this probably once a week, usually.
About once a week. We try to be somewhat consistent, but it doesn't always work out that way because we are real people with real jobs, and we don't have like a specific place to do this in that's dedicated and whatnot. So we try to do at least once a week, sometimes Thursdays, sometimes Wednesdays or Fridays, but it all depends. And some days, if there's like less news, maybe we'll wait an extra day, like this time, and hopefully a couple more topics come up. So, but we'll come up with other stuff as well. And we are still pretty early with this, so plenty of more to come.
Yeah. So thanks. And we'll see y'all next week, probably.
Adios.